We had somebody late as usual. I'm not going to say what his name is, but I swear he's not fucking coming back. Every single time I'm like chomping at the bit, ready to get this thing going, and he's over there just fiddle fucking around. And you're not on a diet anymore, so that doesn't even count. You can't do that. You can't use that.
Fiddle fucking.
All right. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So how is this? Does the stream look crushed to people again?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I had this figured out before, but I figured out what actually I did to fix this. Properties, was it? No, it wasn't display. I forget what it was. God damn it. All right. Well,
I've been on mute this whole time.
Yeah.
We thought you were just animating.
John, minimize your browser so that it'll put us in 3 rows, and then it'll look better when you crop it.
Minimize my browser.
Yeah, like don't have it full size.
Oh, you mean instead I'll do a screen capture is what you're saying as far as the
No.
display capture.
No, that didn't
No,
work.
you can
hold on.
browser capture. I've been on mute this whole time. Jesus.
A lot of you were on mute.
Audience. Yeah. And
Yeah, like me and Rob were just like, is anybody else going to join in the conversation? Thought y'all were just being rude.
I was
I'm going to figure this out.
He's saying, John, even without the display capture, if you shrink your whereby screen on your channel or on your computer, it should make us 3 rows, is what he's saying.
Hold on. I think
it'll make us 3 rows, which will make it look
that
way
definitely
better.
did not fix it.
Yeah, no. That's perfect, John. Now
right there. I think that's good.
Well,
but I think what I just did works.
That's better, yeah.
Just behind a little
Okay.
bit. Yeah.
Okay. That should work. All right. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Oh my God, I think. Oh Jesus!
You had it. What'd you do? Stop.
I'm trying to unfuck this. Okay, I think that's better. There we go. Boom, got it. Oh my God. Okay, we're good to go. All right. I think everybody's good. All this by myself. Come home from fucking hard day of work to get this thing started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Drunken Debates, where we have some new panelists tonight. The way this is going to work is essentially we're going to do 1-minute intros for each of the panelists, and then once that's complete, we're going to delve into our first topic. Now, the way this is going to work, I, as the moderator, I'm going to introduce the topic to the panelists here. Panelists, you're going to have 1 minute to weigh in on the topic. And then once the final panelist is weighed in, we're going to go into roundtable discussion. Roundtable discussion basically means that you can debate each other. Please keep it civil. No ad hominem. There's no need for that. Once the roundtable discussion has been finished, we're going to try and keep it to an hour per topic. We're going to do closeout statements of 1 minute. Now, in that closeout statement, please do ensure that you keep it on topic. Do not target another panelist. Topic only. If you target another panelist, I'm going to have to cut you off. Also, please be advised that while you're talking during your intro or outro, if I raise my hand, that's an indicator that your minute has elapsed. Please go ahead and wrap it up. Please don't go over that minute or try and keep it to roundabout roughly that minute. I will give you an indicator. All of you, I hope, read the rules in the Discord. Let's keep it civil. There's no need for heated or screaming at one another. It's not going to happen. Also, we are doing a giveaway at the end of the night here. We're giving away 1 tanker to a lucky subscriber on the Drunken Debates page, and then you can enter this link right here that I'm posting for a Shell Shock CBD giveaway that we'll be picking the winner on Sunday, I believe. So this giveaway goes away through Sunday. You can get extra credit by following Shell Shock CBD on Facebook, Instagram, and liking the posts here and signing up. And let's go ahead and get this thing started. So we're going to go around with intros. A big thank you to my panelists for coming on tonight. Our first panelist, a return panelist, we have my left, your right, BX Bullet. BX, you got a minute? Tell everybody where you're from and what to do. Political leaning and what you're drinking.
BX Bullet TV. Political leaning. I changes every time I come on this show, depending on who I'm debating. Just kidding. But I mean, John thinks I'm a libertarian. I guess that's pretty close. I'm drinking tea with whiskey in it because I'm a little sick right now, but don't worry, it's not the COVID. It's just the ordinary flu, which, as we know, is not harmful anymore. So I think that I'll be all right. You guys can follow me, BX Bullet TV, on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. I've got a new YouTube channel that's pretty rad. I just posted a TikTok video that was kind of funny. Instagram, pretty much BX Bullet TV, just everywhere, guys. So, yep, that's me.
All right, we're going to kick it over to a new panelist. We have Brad from Touring News. Brad, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. I apologize for the camera issues, to everybody. My name is Brad of Touring News. I started streaming on Twitch February of 2019, doing politics, mostly every day. I covered a lot of economics, energy generation, climate change, geopolitics, macroecon, that kind of stuff. Did some cool live streams I was actually in Washington, D.C. on the same day when Dylan was at the insurrection on January 6th. Did some other live broadcasting events in DC, and the next project that I'm doing, I just took a 6-month internship at an urban farm in Cleveland. So I'm going to be going to work with hydroponics, different types like caterpillar growth systems, a little bit of rain capture and so forth, and hopefully doing some political volunteering out on Nina Turner's campaign in Cleveland, if that will give everybody an idea as to what side of the political spectrum I lean on.
Thank you for that. Kicking it over to return panelist Dylan Burns. Go ahead, Dylan.
Hello, I'm everyone's favorite coastal elitist liberal, here to show all these flyover state people what's what and educate them with my good college educated background to show them a true king's mentality. You might know me from being the guy who was in a Biden hoodie in the middle of the Capitol riots on January 6th, in the middle of all the chaos. I was smart enough to do that. You might know me from hosting the Hippy Dippy Roundtable, usually every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Almost messed it up. You can find me at Dylan Burns TV. That's DYLANBURNS TV on YouTube and on Twitch, and I'd appreciate any support you'd love to give me. As a liberal elitist, I need more than just, the globalist money.
Okay, beautiful.
Can I real quick just say, I think the elite needs, as an elitist, couldn't they have got you in an apartment faster here before you got into your new apartment? Like, don't you deserve something bigger?
That's true, but you know how they are with backstabbing.
Are you doing good, Dylan? Are you okay? Everything good?
I was able to get a new apartment, so I've got a roof over my head, so I'm happy about that.
Awesome.
Good. You got food in your fridge?
I've got a lot of pickled sausages and pepperoni, so that's enough for me.
That's all you
need.
need.
Wait, are you single? Are you single?
I'm not. I've been in a relationship for 3 years.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that sounds good if you're single. I mean, yeah, okay. But... All right, Rob Noor, kicking it over to you, sir.
My name's Rob Noor. I'm a conservative populist. You can find me on Rob Noor on Twitch, lowercase one word. Normal America with Rob Noor on YouTube, Normal America on DLive. Yeah, I think that I enjoy doing panels like this. I enjoy talking to people from all political perspectives. I enjoy debate and arguing. I think it's fun, and I like having constructive conversations. And I think the biggest problem we face in this country is corruption from our establishment leaders. I guess like Dylan's claiming he's part of it. But no, seriously, I think that we need to have conversations with people with different political perspectives, because we need to understand we need to come together to have a system that actually advocates for all of us on the left or on the right and anyone in between. And right now we don't have that. So thanks for having me again. Absolutely. I'm drinking Busch Light as a true, country bumpkin Busch Light.
And we got return panelist and now fresh off the diet, first time drinking, I think, with us. We have GSU Gambit.
What is up? I am happy to be back. This time I am back with alcohol. My drink of choice is Ciroc. I started drinking in 2008 when I was 21, and I've been drinking Ciroc since then. I think I probably consume only a handful of other beverages. So yeah, I love Ciroc. I'm happy to be back. I've been on a bit of a hiatus, a lot from Twitch, but I am back tonight. Happy to be here and happy to have interesting conversations with people all over the political aisle. So this is gonna be cool.
Oh yeah. And then Captain America is having some camera troubles. Captain, you there? You're in Discord right now, right?
Yeah, can you hear me right now?
Yeah, we can hear you. We just can't see you.
All right, I'm trying to troubleshoot this issues right now. It's a longtime friend of John Burke. Just here to basically try to see if I can make this work and partake in some discussions.
Okay, so while Captain gets that squared away, again, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to ensure that you enter into the giveaway that we've got going on. I'm posting it in the chat right now. There is a link to sign up for the Shell Shock giveaway. That's what we got going on. All right, so panelists, we're going to get started with this. We have one topic per hour is what I'm going to try and keep it to for a total of roughly 3 hours. We're going to see how it goes. So the first topic has been trending since yesterday. This was posted on March 18, 2021. So again, excuse me, it wasn't yesterday, it was today. Putin challenges Biden to debate after president calls him a killer. Biden spoke out about Russian president in an ABC News interview this week. Russian President Vladimir Putin has reacted to President Joe Biden calling him a killer by challenging Biden to take part in a conversation with him broadcast live online. I just thought, or he says, parentheses or quotes, I've just thought of this now. Putin told a Russian state television reporter, I want to propose to President Biden to continue our discussion, but on the condition that we do it basically live, as it's called, without any delays and directly in an open, direct discussion. It seems to me that we would be interesting for the people of Russia and for the people of the United States. Putin's invitation seemed to amount to a challenge to Biden to a live televised debate following a day of diplomatic uproar that began when Biden said he thought that Putin was a killer in an interview with ABC's News' George Stephanopoulos. Russia called it its ambassador back from the United States in response to the remark. After issuing its invitation, Putin said he didn't want to delay proposing and Biden hold the discussion as early as Friday. I don't want to put this off for long. I want to get to the Taiga this weekend to relax a little, Putin said, so we can do it tomorrow or Monday. We are ready at any time convenient for the American side. In response to reporters' questions, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki suggested the discussion was unlikely to happen and noting that Biden is scheduled to travel to Georgia on Friday and that the administration is currently too busy. All right, panelists, how do you feel this looks in regards to Biden calling Vladimir Putin a killer and then Biden essentially challenging him to a debate? How does this make America look on the international stage and anything encompassing this topic? BX, we're going to start with you for intros. You got 1 minute on the clock. What do you feel about how this whole thing played out? Or how
Oh,
it played out?
man.
Go ahead.
Joe Biden can't even start to take questions or go off the script without Nancy Pelosi's head exploding. So, this man is probably incapable of doing anything without a direct earpiece and, being told exactly what he needs to say. As we've seen, like, he's just terrible at public speaking and answering questions. So I think that Putin obviously did this because he knew that Biden couldn't stand up to him. He knew that he would, just demolish Biden in a debate. And so really he's calling him out. It's like a Twitter troll would call somebody out. And I mean, I think it makes us look weak. It makes us look bad. I mean, it's a bad thing to have all the national scrutiny on somebody who made a remark and then can't back it up because he's too busy. It looks bad. And I think it's kind of silly, but I think Putin knew what he was doing. He was challenging him because he knew it would make us look bad. And he knew it would make Biden look weak.
Okay, we're going to kick it down to Dylan Burns. Sir, you've got 1 minute. Go ahead.
I mean, of course, Biden's statement's true. I mean, I could do a long list of the dissidents who've been beaten and then denied medical care and then end up dying. I mean, we could talk about how Magnitsky sanctions were started after the beating and then death of Magnitsky, which helped to start the whole policy of Magnitsky sanctions on people who violate human rights. It's been a policy that we've used in Xinjiang, Hong Kong, and Myanmar, all around the world. It's no news that Vladimir Putin and his allies have killed dissidents. That's no news. So the accusation of him being a killer is accurate. Whether you want to turn around and say, well, has Joe Biden a killer for voting for Iraq or something like that? That's a discussion, of course, we could have. Whether or not Joe Biden should accept a debate challenge, I think it's silly. I think it's stupid. I don't think it's a show of weakness in any amount. I mean, if any time we just had foreign powers just challenging other leaders to debates, they wouldn't just all have to, well, I better get into this debate to debate this person on the issues in order to appear strong. It's ridiculous. This is not something that happens in international politics. It's just Putin showing that he doesn't really have a proper response to the accusation because he does murder dissidents. And lastly, Joe Biden is a while I disagree with him on many things, he's a very smart person. He's not a great public speaker, but he's also struggled with stuttering his whole life. And I think, that's probably the reason why I would probably not. If it was come to him debating Putin, who's a really good linguist, I don't think he'd be able to deal with Putin when it comes to speaking ability, but I do think he definitely is intellectually smart enough to deal with Putin.
All right, we're going to kick it over to Rob Noor. You've got 1 minute, sir. Go ahead.
So as far as Putin being a killer, I have no reason to disagree with that. I agree with Dylan. I think the preponderance of the evidence shows that he's a bad guy and he's done bad things to dissidents in his country. No debate there. So the more interesting thing is, Dylan's right. This doesn't happen very often where you see prominent world leaders call other ones out like that. The reason that it happened is because Joe Biden is so inept. Putin would have never dared challenge Trump to a public debate like this because he knows that Trump would be able to push back and probably would have embarrassed him. Not because Trump's smarter than Putin, just because Trump would have been on the attack. And now, if the debate came down to remember or whatever it is Biden likes to talk about, I'm sure Biden would thoroughly handle him on that. Biden would have difficulty getting up the stairs to the podium to even debate Putin. So Putin's calling him out. We saw China disrespecting Blinken right in Alaska. Like, this is now, everybody knows, the world knows that the United States installed an empty suit. And it's actually not funny at all. It's tragic that Biden has so much cognitive decline. I mean, what's Biden going to do? Get on the national stage and tell him about how kids liked rubbing his leg hair in the pool as he was challenging Corn Pop with rusty chains and things like that? He's a joke. Biden's a joke. The rest of the world knows that. They know that he's a pushover and that they can make him look like a buffoon by calling him out publicly anytime they want.
GSU, over to you, sir.
Real quick, sorry to interrupt, John. Some people in your chat are saying the audio is a little bit quiet. I don't mean to like disrupt into your.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I think they were saying it was my audio.
Yeah,
I'll turn it.
They
all
said
up.
I was the only person they could hear.
All right, I'll turn it all up.
Sorry,
All right, go
GSU.
ahead, Brad.
You can talk louder.
Or, I'm sorry, GSU. Go ahead.
Yeah. So just like Dylan said, there's large amounts of evidence to support the claim that Putin is a killer. I kind of disagree with Dylan on the debate thing, though. I do think it's like uncharted territory, but having two leaders debate openly for the public, I think that's like transparency, and I think it'd be good. Now, I don't think it'd be good. Well, actually, I thought Joe Biden would get murdered by Trump in the debates, and he kind of murdered Trump. So I think that it'll either be a great show of like intellectual skill by Biden, or either it'll be a nightmare that we'll all live to regret. But I do think it should happen. I think the transparency could be cool just to see what questions they ask each other and what the responses are and who's open and who's not and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I'd be interested in it. I am a little optimistic that it will go well for us.
All right, Brad, up to you, sir.
Yeah, there's no denying the repression and killing of dissidents within Russia. It's happened many times throughout Putin's time, whether he was in the KGB or when he became his position now. As far as the whole challenging on the debate thing goes, I think it was a wise tactical move by Putin to do. I think that he probably assumes that Biden is not really going to call his bluff, and even if he does call the bluff, Putin thinks that he would probably be able to beat him in a debate. To me, it just seems to be a calculated political move. Putin saw a little bit of room on the chessboard that he could perhaps advance like a pawn or a rook, and try to take like a little bit of a shot at the United States or whatever. I don't think the debate is going to happen, and I'll pause it for there.
Okay. So, Captain America, are you there? I think we may have lost him. He was having some technical difficulties.
He's in the waiting room with two different accounts.
America, are you there? Captain America, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
You got the room, or are you back in the whereby room, or you got the link for it?
No.
You don't have the link to the whereby room?
It's in the Discord chat.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'll fucking pull it up.
Here, I'll message it to you real quick on Discord.
Okay.
Just shout
Everybody
it to you in the DM. Everybody drink. Everybody drink.
You got like 4 shows worth of drinking to do here, GSUs, though.
Yeah, you really
I'm
do.
drinking straight liquor. I'm catching up.
Jesus. Did you get the message, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm working it right now, man. I'm on like my phone, a laptop, and my computer. I can't explain. I'm on 3 different things right now.
Okay.
We'll
come back to you, brother. It's good. All right,
do.
so I'm gonna go ahead and finish this off, and then we're gonna go into roundtable discussions. So in regards to whether or not we think Biden or Putin is the killer, I think we're all kind of unanimously agreeing on the fact that his ex-head of the KGB and stuff like that. KGB, yeah, definitely a killer. The fact that Biden spawned this by calling Putin a killer, or like George Stephanopoulos is trying to instigate something like this, like it's just, what is this going to do? What is this going to accomplish on the international stage when you're sitting there calling the head of Russia a killer? It's like, if Trump did the same thing in regards to North Korea, liberals screamed at him for saying that they're going to get us into World War III. Trump freaking manhandled North Korea. Biden is calling President Vladimir Putin a killer and then saying he's going to basically get his comeuppance and saying we're going to deal with Putin and things such as that. And then Putin plays a smart role. He knows Biden's not a good debater. He knows that. Biden, by all means, can't even read on the teleprompter without stumbling all over himself. And by the way, the whole stuttering thing his entire life, that's not true at all. If you go back and you watch Biden videos over and over again, he never stuttered. He never stuttered. So this idea of defending Biden to try and show that he's not suffering from onset dementia by saying he's always had a stuttering problem, no, go watch his older videos. Nothing. Perfectly eloquent. And that's not a knock at him from politically. I'm just saying that showcases his mental fortitude or lack thereof in regards to him being able to do this job. So when Biden wants to go out there and throw the first punch across Putin, saying, call him a killer, Putin responds back saying, let's debate. I would rather have 2 international leaders debate or national leaders debate versus go to war. So I think Biden, he did great in Syria when he struck back at Syria. When Biden's going up against a nation with a leader that actually has balls, you better be prepared for what's coming up. I think it could have been avoided if Biden just not answered the question, but instead he did. Open for roundtable discussion. Have at it.
So did he actually use the word debate? Because when you're reading it, he was saying that we want to have an open discussion kind of thing.
We could call it that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So like to me, that sounded more like, to have like, just a sit down discussion and talk about it, like instead of saying it to, say it to my face kind of thing.
Well, yeah, yeah. Definitely not in the sense of like, I think Putin's basically saying, let's discuss this live. That's the takeaway I got from the article.
Yeah, because he knows that Biden can't talk live without everybody,
Biden still won't do press conferences.
Ending the stream.
Even when Biden, and I actually feel bad for Biden. You remember like last week where Biden was like, I guess I could take questions from people. And then his handlers were like, nope, let's rip the feed down. Like Biden doesn't, if you've ever witnessed someone that's going through cognitive decline, a lot of times they don't really realize it as much. So I think Biden's heart's in it. He's trying to be like, oh yeah, I'll get out there and talk to people. And his handlers are just like not having it. I got a lot to say in this, but I'll just, to start with, I'll just say this, right? If Putin really wanted to troll, he should have challenged Kamala Harris to a debate and said she's really the one running the show. That would have been closer to accurate and would have really hit home the point like, hey, Biden, I don't care that you're trying to sound like a tough guy and call me a killer. Everybody knows you're an empty suit that's not making any decisions anyways.
Okay.
I'm going to jump in and say that go ahead, Dylan.
I have a lot of stuff to respond to, so you can go first.
Well, I was going to say, I was going to slightly not change the topic, but I think that we're missing like the actual bigger thing that happened between the United States and Russia yesterday. I have like an article that I'm looking at here on CNBC. It's them saying that they need to stop. The United States warns companies to abandon work on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline as Biden reportedly weighs sanctions. I think that this is like the actual bigger story of what's going on, of how energy is going to be transferred from Russia into Western Europe and so forth. And so while we're all kind of like talking about the nice meme that, is going to get like, are they going to debate? Are they going to talk? Not or so forth. This is really kind of one of the big like geopolitical shifts happening within the region, and it kind of seems to be like going underneath the surface.
It's true.
Okay, so there's a few things I'd like to say. There is no evidence that Biden has dementia. You can try to like play like armchair physician here. I don't know if anybody in here works.
Can you say that he doesn't?
Can I say? Well, okay. Let me ask you a question. Do you have AIDS, John? I can't say that you don't have AIDS. So there you go. That's the amount of evidence we have.
If I was exhibiting symptoms of AIDS, you could say I probably have AIDS, though, right?
But
nobody's saying he has dementia. We're saying he shows like he looks like he has.
The thing is, but he has a medical history of
You know
stuttering.
that
And
it's
you know
not
what? If
just
we know what, but
dementia,
you don't want to know what happens with stuttering. And this is something that's not left in your older age. If you combat stuttering, and in your older age, then you can actually start to redevelop a lot of those symptoms you used to have in your younger age when you have stuttering. That can happen.
I think it would be fair to call it an age-related decline.
So that he stutters? Okay, but it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter.
It's not even the stuttering. It's just the fact that he seems to not be able to put coherent sentences together.
Yeah,
he does speeches all the time. Like
this
seems like micro, like focusing on one or two slip-ups, really. When like the vast majority of the time, one or two. Honestly, most of the time. Are you kidding me? Yes. Then let me finish. Let me talk.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm the one fighting against the storm here. Okay. Look.
No, you have other people on your side
here. John's thinking about his VHS tape.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody else is going to defend Joe Biden's speaking skills. Okay, so
I'll be there to back you up. Don't worry.
So the thing is what happens is there'll be one or two instances that'll take up the media for like a week or so, but the amount he does these speeches and stuff on policy, whether it be foreign policy speeches, domestic policy speeches, what he'll say after signing an executive order, the vast majority, 90 to 95% of the time when he speaks, he's perfectly fine. He might fumble one or two words and nothing really major happens. It'll be a few times that he'll fumble or misremember or something like that, which is totally normal. I do it all the time on stream all the time. I fumble or misremember something, and it's ultra focusing on stuff like that. And I didn't see a lot of the same thing, right? And you know what? I'll do the whole. I didn't see a lot of the same thing when any other president does this. This happens through every presidency to a same extent. Donald Trump did this all the time. Trump did this all the time. Well, this is what about because Rob's here, so I'm allowed to do it. So the thing is,
there you go.
The thing is, like, no, what I'm talking about is why is it? And Rob, I know you talk about this, the media, and this is the media being bad, Rob. So I think you'd agree with me on this. The media hyper focusing on something that all the other presidents used to do, but now it's bad because Joe Biden's the one doing it. When Donald Trump fumbled his words, whether it be about Middle East or whether he mixed up Trump mixed up Yugoslavia and Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And when he was in Estonia, he asked them about their civil war. What the fuck? And that was not national news. That was not a big thing. And it's because people like to have this image of Joe Biden as this decrepit old man who doesn't know what he's doing. It's good for publicity. It's good for Fox. It's good for
that way.
If I may.
Simple.
Wait, go ahead, Rob.
So real
Rob,
quick, go ahead.
Listen,
Please.
He dispatched with Trump in like 2 debates, right? So, and this was just a few months ago.
Whoa, bro. Come on.
Listen.
All right, there's no proving that. That's just opinion, baby. Yeah,
there's no proving. But you were wait a minute. We just hold on. No, I have to jump in. We're talking about things that cannot be proved. So you're saying that GSU can't prove that Biden defeated Trump in a debate, and we're also saying that you can't prove that Biden has the cognitive decline because you don't have the test for it. So is it going to be like
so real quick? So we're talking
but
about
where did I ever say that it's like 100%? It's like he's getting
just 2 more sentences. Just 2 more sentences.
Go ahead.
Listen, as a liberal, like you can go find every video from me on Twitch pre-election. I told everybody on every panel I was deathly afraid of Joe Biden being in a debate with Trump, and I was hoping that he would skip it in some kind of way, still win the election. He literally killed him in 2 debates. Like this was a few months
figuratively.
ago.
Metaphorically.
Okay. Anyways, he didn't. The first debate, they both looked like assholes, and it was Trump versus Chris Wallace and Joe Biden. The second debate, Trump crushed him. Now, to get to Dylan's point, when we're talking about past presidents like Trump and people stumbling over their words, there arguably was never a more transparent than Donald Trump. He took questions from reporters hours at a time. He was always off the cuff, off the teleprompter. And yes, he said dumb shit, no doubt. Joe Biden is, if he doesn't have cognitive decline, can you explain to me why he's being protected from answering even the most basic questions from a sycophantic media that wants to be his ally anyways?
What do you mean he's being protected? The thing is, okay, when you say that, I mean, the thing is, we just had this whole thing where Joe Biden leaned forward in an interview and everybody was saying, oh, it was a green screen or whatever the hell. He'll run over to the press. A lot of times when he's running back, he'll see the press, he'll run over there. He'll do his little jog, show how healthy he is, over to the press, answer a few questions, then go on his way. He'll do this all the time when he has an opportunity to speak to the press, and he'll a lot of times take that opportunity. Sometimes he doesn't. Maybe it's because he's too busy working so hard and not beating his chest like Trump had to do. Like, for example,
you mean like
when he wrote executive order, he didn't have to do a whole speech after. He's like, okay, got it done. See you later. And he went back to work. He walks
up to the press and says what he wants, and he doesn't take serious questions from him. He broke an over 100-year record for being the longest term to not have a press conference from entering the presidency. He has not given a State of the Union, right? He could read off a teleprompter in small bursts. Even when he does interviews online, his wife's there to save him when he starts mucking about. We know that, like, Dylan, you don't have to defend it.
I'm sure he'll have a State of the Union. You know he's going to have a State of the Union. Are you going to say he's going to be the first president in the United States not to have a State of the Union? I'm not saying that he's exactly going in front of all the cameras all the time, or is he as camera friendly as Donald Trump. I mean, after a Trump presidency, any president was going to appear camera shy, since Donald Trump was probably somebody who loved to be in the spotlight, loved to be in the camera, loved to be making speeches 24/7. That's never how Joe Biden has ever been, even a lot of times on the campaign trail in his last elections as well. People don't remember that in the 1980s and his other elections, a lot of times he was not the same way in the camera. He's in the same way as he uses cameras now. Look, I'm not saying he's the most camera-friendly president, but this idea that he's like hiding in his closet or something or in a bunker, I think is exaggerating the fact. He's not the most camera-friendly president, true, but he's not like being ran by Kamala Harris in the background.
Can I just say that it's nuts that we're having to even have this conversation, and we're having to have this conversation because we elected a fucking 80-year-old to be the president of the United States. I mean, like, my dad's in his late 70s, have older parents, right? I mean, he's a great guy, man. He's with it. You know, he makes funny jokes and stuff, but God, I'm not going to let him drive me down the road because he sucks to drive with, because he's like freaking old, and I'm not going to let him run the fucking country either. We shouldn't be handing the country over to these fucking 80-year-old people. There should be age limits.
Well, listen,
wait, hang on.
I'm not a Trump supporter.
But is he too?
They're
Is
both
he
80
too
or
old?
they're both super fucking old. But I mean, I think that Biden is obviously showing more signs of age-related decline than Trump
And
did.
it's
Well,
not
that's
just
just a
since
matter of
he's been
opinion.
president, right? It's not just since he's been president. The guy
It is, though.
basically didn't
It is.
campaign for the last 100 days of the campaign.
Yeah,
They
because he
hit
had it
him
on
from the
lock and he
campaign.
won. I mean, that just shows how
Right,
much of a candidate Trump was, honestly.
well, like Time Magazine said, because a shadowy cabal of elitists, like, you know, all the mainstream media intel that engaged in the coup against him and all these other agencies conspired against to help drag him across the finish line. Yeah, that's true. The other thing that's wrong with this statement, right? Like, so the cognitive issues aside, I'm assuming we're not going to get a truthful admission that it's clear that something's wrong there. So moving on, the other thing that's bad about this is why wouldn't Joe Biden? Why wouldn't Joe Biden say something like this? Like, hey, I'm not going to debate with a killer. Instead, he says, my team, or his team comes out and goes, he doesn't have time. What's he deciding who he's going to choose in Mario Kart next weekend?
Well, I'm sorry, but he's not the correct choice anymore. He's too busy signing executive orders and passing stimulus bills that the Republicans were spouting. $1.9 trillion.
If he really does, then I'm gonna.
We're too busy winning 2022 and 2024 years in advance. By the way, I'm gotta bring this up now because it's been brought up in the beginning, and I've watched this meeting a million times. You said like Blinken was like ran over by China. I don't know if we watched two completely different meetings, but Blinken was too hard on China, honestly. So they go into the meeting an hour before, they place multiple sanctions on Hong Kong and Chinese officials, go into the meeting, and the first thing Blinken says to them is, what you're doing in Xinjiang is wrong. What you're doing in Hong Kong is wrong. What you're doing in South China Sea is wrong. What we're doing when it comes to intellectual property rights is wrong. All these things are wrong. That's not how these meetings go. That's not how these things happen. That's not the restart that a lot of people thought Joe Biden's administration was going to do. That was an aggressive stance. And China actually responded pretty aggressively, saying, well, you're slaughtering black people. You're doing this, you're doing that. And then they tried to push the press out. And Blinken said, no, press, stay here. What about Korea? What about Japan? We pissed them off. And the idea that Blinken got ran over is a ridiculous characterization of that meeting.
That's exactly what happened. Blinken got ran over. And this is this is a completely different subject, but I'll just say my piece on it real quick. When you run on the premise of, I hate my country because it's the shittiest, most racist place in the world, and then you want to judge other people for alleged human rights abuses, not alleged, it's really happening. Eventually they're going to say, hey, US, fuck off. Aren't you admitting how racist you are? Aren't you admitting how terrible you are? So you don't have the moral high ground. And Blinken just went, oh yeah, shit. I guess I'm going to eat a shit sandwich on this one because that's absolutely true. The guy got ran over. We all saw it. They came to Alaska, to U.S. soil, and told the United States that they don't have the moral authority to say anything on human rights issues. And Blinken had no response whatsoever.
He literally responded. He literally he literally responded with more human rights, more diplomatic.
So
he was like, no.
He said you're wrong. The United States isn't engaged in human rights abuses. That's what he said?
No, because that would be a lie, because we are engaged in human rights abuses. Right. Oh, really? We aren't engaged in human rights abuses. You're going to tell me
America?
You're going to tell me
America is an awesome country that isn't the systemically racist country that Joe Biden pretended.
Wait. Okay. So the thing is, we can't just pretend we're not, for example, when he said, look, all the stuff you're doing in the Middle East, do you think he should have said, our Middle East policy has been perfect. We have done nothing wrong. And the Saudis are great. No, he can't say that. So what he did is he brought up, well, what about the allies in here? What about the allies? He did what he could do. And Blinken pivoted to these other areas because he knew it was a strong area. He was strong in that meeting, unbelievably strong. And I really don't understand. You can't just make this stuff up, man. He was honestly,
making it up.
Blinken was too tough on China. I'm going to be the hot take. Blinken should have been softer. He should have had a more diplomatic first meeting than built up into these issues in private meetings. That's how most diplomatic relations are supposed to go off. That's my hot take. There's my hot take.
All right, hold on. Let's kick it down. Let's kick it down to Captain America.
Because when you actually start doing some of these debates or international relations, you don't start by steamrolling your opposition and coming out and accusing them of all of this. And that's where he fucked up.
And he couldn't. And Dylan, what you're saying is absolutely true about the Middle East. Shit. unlike you, the modern day Dick Cheney, except with better hair, I'm not for all the foreign interventionism that you're for. So I'm absolutely for saying, yes, the United States has done bad things when it comes to foreign interventions like you want in Syria and other places like that. However, the idea, what the Biden camp and what the progressives and the Democrats have said, it's not just the United States has made bad choices and done bad things in the Middle East. It is this country is systemically racist. And when you say that this country was founded on and continues to be operated under systemic racism, then the rest of the world's going to say, okay, you don't get to criticize other countries for judging other races and ethnicities in a poor way.
Well, I mean,
and Blinken didn't have shit to say.
Oh, because he's right. Because we have treated black people like shit. It's the truth. I'm sorry it hurts, but it's a fact. It's a fact of the matter. It's just the truth. And you know
just
what?
So everyone's listening,
Well, I mean,
this is why this.
The
thing is,
the problem with Rob Noor's ideology is he doesn't understand patriotism. I think that, no, really, you don't, because the idea that the left hates America, they hate it because look,
this is the fundamental problem with conflation of what we do here in the West. You've literally made it so that you have equated what we do with people of color to what's going on in China right now. The Uyghurs are being there's a democide going on. They're being rounded up and murdered, and because we could definitely be better. We can always be better, and everybody should accept that. And we should always work to strive. And we as a nation do work to better ourselves and be better at this stuff, these interracial relations. But people on the left have so denigrated and disparaged the United States for our way of policing that you would actually think that there is a modern day genocide going on in the United States against people of color. That's not at all true.
We stop and frisk people for decades to put them behind bars
and
for
that's wrong.
grams
and that's
of weed.
Dylan's for that. Dylan's for racial profiling. That's okay.
That was wrong. That was morally abhorrent.
Right, and we still have it. We still have stop and frisk.
Stop and frisk is not stop and murder your fucking family.
So what happens when you get into prison? What happens when you get?
He's saying that he's not. He's just saying that you can't compare.
Hold on, panelists. We're going to go to the method of put your hands up first, and we'll call you.
Can't stand up against actual genocide.
Gotcha,
right now, there'd be people in concentration camps in Germany and World War II, and we're like, well, we have racism here in the United States. Well, that's great, but they're actually killing 6 million Jews right now. So the inaction on our part, or us taking a moment to dabble in introspection, does nothing for the Uyghur people who are being killed like jackrabbits right now. I understand we could always do better here, but when you conflate what we do here in the West to being equal with an actual democide going on in China, not only do you ruin our credibility, but you are, culpable in the massacre of people because.
So I've seen.
We're letting it happen.
All right, go over to Dylan.
I reject the idea that I'm culpable in the slaughter of Uyghur Muslims. Okay, number one.
Oh, you're taking time to be like, hey,
I'm talking about what the Chinese government said. Let me say this really quick. There has been nobody else on Twitch who has talked more about what's going on in Xinjiang and probably knows more about what's going on in Xinjiang than me. I've talked about it at length. I know what's going on. What's going on over there is absolutely horrible. Now, the thing is, you brought up a great example with World War II. The problem is, since we didn't address also our issues during World War II and during these things when there was a crisis of morality, where what's kind of weird that we're sending black people overseas to die in wars and they come back and they don't have the same freedoms as white people. That's pretty weird. And since we didn't address that and we didn't take the moment to reflect while we were also fighting for freedom around the world, what ended up happening was when black people came in, they didn't get included in the GI Bill like everybody else. They still went back to their segregated communities. Redlining was still a thing, and they still had to face that reality. And so you know what? What we do by not addressing these issues at home is we give authoritarian governments around the world the tool to just say when we bring up their things is, well, what about this thing you're doing right now? And you know what? We can pretend that these things aren't going on. We can deny it, but we actually can't, or we'd be lying, because some of these things are going on. And I'm not saying they're the same thing, but we can't deny it. So all I'm trying to say here isn't that well, these things are the same thing, or all these things are the same, but we can't pretend they're not going on. And what was he supposed to do? And now let me just respond to Rob's thing. When I said you don't understand patriotism, Rob, is when the left talks about these issues, we're not doing it because we hate America. If we hated you, yeah, but when you
the people in charge,
the left, the people in charge, whatever, when they disparage America, however, Joe Biden had, in my opinion, an extremely patriotic message. I think he was very patriotic. In the end, it was the David Thoreau version of patriotic when he wrote his essay in 1842 to disagree with Polk. And it was the idea that a patriot doesn't just agree with whatever the government's doing or whatever the state of affairs is, just because the wide-ranging American public agrees with this or this section of society agrees with it. A patriot is somebody who's going to be willing to fight for their society in order for change, to push against systems and be a counter-friction, direct quote. And so when he's practiced the David Thoreau, and I would, and to say Joe Biden's even practiced it, that would be a stretch because I think he's more moderate on that than a lot of people. But to say that him criticizing America for racism or structural inequality is unpatriotic in any sense of the imagination, I think is completely disconnected from reality, because using that logic, MLK wasn't a patriot.
All right, we got to kick it over to Rob.
I mean, using that logic,
Rob, go ahead.
you got to realize.
Hold on, Captain. We got to do. Captain, hold on. Ryan, hold on. Ryan,
I mean,
can
my
you hear me?
nation's the only one where you can come here.
Ryan, can Ryan hear me?
I'm not sure if there's too many that you can
I don't know
go.
if he can
and
hear you.
If you've been here for a week or you've
Can you
been
hear any
here
of
for
us?
a year, you're an American.
don't
You're
think so.
Dylan, apparently.
He's
Ryan,
going,
can you
man.
hear me?
My liberal elitism goes through all mics.
Clearly.
Can you hear
Ryan, can you hear me?
Am I being heard?
Yeah, can you hear me, Ryan? This is John.
I don't think he can hear you.
He
All right.
can't hear us.
Dylan, can
He
you
can't
ask him
hear
if he hears you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear everybody.
What?
Oh, okay.
What?
Why
I'm
can he
so
only hear
happy
me?
about this.
He can only hear me. That's
Dylan.
weird.
No, I can hear everybody. I
Okay,
heard
now-
the
okay.
Lieutenant and Rob. I've heard all of you.
Okay.
So we're gonna go to hands up. So whenever you have something to say, put your hand up, and I'll call on you in order, because that way we don't get people
I'm
talking
not
over each
hearing
other.
John now.
God damn it!
Okay.
Oh, he's not hearing John. Random.
Drag him
my
out and
God.
no. Drag him out and drag him back in. Discord has been having issues with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyways, can I talk while we're
Yeah, it's gonna go over to Rob, then to GSU.
Hey, I
Okay,
can hear
so,
now.
Gotcha.
okay, several things to say here. The first is, wow, Dylan, that was pretty eloquent. Shame you weren't there instead of Blinken.
Hi,
Huh.
I'm the TV.
He said all that stuff really great, didn't he? Oh no, he didn't say shit. He just let it go. Secondly, I don't question, I try to give good faith to everyone I talk with on here. I don't question your patriotism, but there are certainly people in cultural positions and institutional power in this country that certainly seem to dislike this country and want to disparage it at every chance that they get. The idea that, like, it's funny that when we talk about, like, it's systemic racism in this country, the first example that's brought up is stop and frisk, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, that's a problem of racial profiling, correct?
I think so.
What'd
Yeah.
you say, Brad? Oh yeah, ironic then that
I would
Dylan's
even go even
defending
further
that.
and say that's
Hey,
it's a
self-avowed-
violation
Come on,
of
you
individual
already
Wait,
backed
John,
off of that. You
a
said
self-avowed racial
That's so
profiler
disingenuous.
himself,
That's so
and Dylan
disingenuous.
Burns, who says that the military should racially profile white people and should have racially profiled Muslims after 9/11. So it's funny to hear that that's the example we're giving on why the United States is bad. The truth of the matter is that it is blown out of proportion how bad things like systemic racism and other such things are. And when you blow it out of proportion, you accept the blowback then when people call your bluff. And they say, didn't you say that the United States continues to operate under systemic racism, that every major institution, including law enforcement, is systemically racist? Isn't that the argument that your side is making? So then who the hell are you to try to lecture anyone else on how their justice system operates? And Blinken could have been articulate. You could, if you're a skilled diplomat, you could be able to make the argument like, look, yes, there are problems in the United States. Of course, they've overblown them and they're nowhere near to the level of what the leftists say, but there are problems, but they're nowhere near what you people are doing right now to these Uyghur Muslims, what you people are doing in Hong Kong. And the fact that you would try to conflate a country like us that is trying to talk through these issues to a country like you that is blatantly murdering people is despicable. But he didn't say that, did he? Which is why I say he got ran over.
Over to GSU. Then to Dylan.
I'm so confused.
I'm
Rob,
a little
we had
confused.
No,
Yeah, well,
Rob.
this
So
isn't the
wait,
topic.
first off, Rob says some very valid things. There are people that disparage the country like unnecessarily on the left. But when it comes to systemic racism, me and Rob had a nice, long, like hour and a half conversation, and I thought we agreed on such a lot of stuff. But it seems like today you switched, but you believe somewhat.
What do you think? What did I agree with that you think? I think I agreed that there are some things, like, for example, I believe we talked specifically about parking tickets and speeding tickets and how there was.
Wasn't me.
Was that not you? Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. You're not many black people talk to me. So,
no, we talked about redlining. We talked about a whole line.
But the difference is those are historical abuses, right? That's different than what's going on today.
No, but those historical things that have been unaddressed lead to the disparities that we see in lots of industries today. I could speak for hours on this, but if y'all want, come talk to me after this debate. But yeah, so the idea that things are equivalent with what's happening in China, I don't think anyone here is making that claim. But the idea that we don't have deep-rooted problems here is definitely not. I mean, it's definitely true. Those things aren't at the level of genocides that are literally happening as we talk right now. But those things are really bad. But it was something else that I wanted to address that you said. And I don't remember right now because I was so taken aback by that. I have no clue now. But yeah, there are problems. There are big problems. We can talk about them on my stream afterwards if you want. But yeah.
All right, let's kick it back over to Dylan.
Okay, so Rob, you've used this a few times since then, and the thing is, I thought you clarified to me that you understood my position now, and so this is why I'm always confused when you use this as a bludgeon against me, is we had a discussion about white nationalism in the military, and how everybody agrees, including military personnel when polled, that they're seeing white nationalism at higher rates within the military when neo-Nazis have tried to carry out domestic terror attacks from within the United States military. This is not just me being a lip cuck, this is from the United States Justice Department. That was in 2018. This is a legitimate problem. And in that discussion, you asked me whether, when we look at white nationalists, whether we should look at the white people. And I said, well, I guess so, sure, because it was a spur of the moment thing. And it was like, see, you're for right. Well, that's how, but eventually came to basically, should we look at the white people for white nationalism? And I said, sure, whatever. Yeah. And then afterwards, upon review, I was like, oh, well, actually, that's not a good idea. And you was like, oh yeah, well, you just said it was spur of the moment. But you've continued to use that against me like that.
No, because later in that discussion, you came back.
What's with this cancel culture, man?
No, later. It's not. I'm not advocating you cancel. I hope your channel grows.
Is he bringing up old tweets?
I'd love to hear you.
You bring it up
basically.
No, but listen, if further in that discussion, you're leaving out the part you also said we should have racially profiled Muslims.
I did.
After
Okay,
9/11 entering the military. No, you said that.
Be clear about what I said.
Old tweets, not Rob.
Yeah, what is it?
No, it's not
so
tweets. It was
far
a
off
conversation.
the topic.
It is off the topic, but the point is this. So you're saying now that you would be against the military racially profiling Muslims or white people when it comes to
Yes, I'd be against the military racially profiling anybody. Okay.
Then I'll leave it go, and I will never bring it up again in the context of this. Fair enough. Did you bring it back on discussion, though, like about Joe Biden and this challenge of Putin? I think the China
wait, I didn't even get the...
Go ahead.
I didn't get the...
I thought that's what you'd say. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No. I wanted to bring up something else. So... Okay, so there was another thing.
Hold on, I want to circle back to this rise of white nationalism in the military as defined back in 2018. So for those that don't know, Ryan Mathis is actually currently active duty. Ryan, where do you stand on this claim made by Dylan?
So, I mean, I think that like a lot of issues that we face are people not being able to define what is white nationalism versus white supremacy versus, tribalism, and those are all very different things. Like words mean things. We have a tendency to really put our neo-Nazi off of American History X, and that's what white supremacy means. That's what white nationalism means. They're all synonymous, right? And racism is a thing. And I don't know if you guys have ever really traveled extensively outside of the United States. Racism is all over the place. It's a very, very prevalent thing.
It is.
If you go to the Middle East, they are very racist. One of their words for slave, our word in English is actually based off of the Slavic people. Their word is based off of people of color from Africa that they enslaved off of the East Coast. There's a reason why Somalia, Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea to this day are very poor and shitty, is because the Middle East and the Arab people, through the Arab slave trade, spent a lot of time wreaking havoc on that exact coastline. We don't focus on it because we're too busy hampered by our own guilt of the sins of our fathers, that we don't really recognize these things. No, I've kind of gotten off track to get back to it. There are problems and they'd be very, very small problems. As a person that has an entire north sleeve and very, very Caucasian, blonde hair, blue eyed male, I'll tell you, if there was a huge white nationalism movement or white supremacy movement within the United States military, I'm pretty sure I would have been petitioned multiple times to join. There isn't. It isn't a huge problem. Whether or not people have their own independent biases, I can't stop that. I have encountered racism. I've encountered racism from all races. I've had people of color greet me at the chow hall like I showed up as a colonizer, and the next person that comes up is a person of color, and they greet them with kissing the cheek and hugging them. I've had CIF turn away my stuff that were people of color, and then the next guy comes in and his shit smells like the swamp, and his stuff is accepted. I've had all kinds. I've had NCOERs that were written sparingly or just like trash. I saw the same people that were Hispanic put a lot more time into another Hispanic male's NCOER. So, I mean, these are all like things that are part of the human condition. And I mean, you can hashtag and tweet away the human condition. I mean, you can try to, and it's not going to happen. But I don't particularly think that white supremacy and white nationalism within the military is as big of a problem as, once again, the conflation would lead you to believe. Not enough for a standout, at least. We have a lot bigger issues in the Army.
Can I talk about this?
We gotta go up to Brad. Brad had his hand up, and then we'll go to Dylan.
Right,
go ahead.
What was the purpose of bringing up the racism of other nations and trying to compare it to the United States? Was there any reason?
China basically responded.
It's the human condition. It's the human condition. It's like, for instance, murder rates, right? So you can try to say, United States has a murder problem. Well, that's great. Everybody has a murder problem. Really, a lot of places have murder problems. So to just say stuff that are the human condition and prevalent does not necessarily mean that the United States is inherently at fault for it.
I agree
Dylan.
with that.
Okay,
Dylan, back over to you.
So what I was talking about is that there have been multiple studies on this, and year after year, the amount of white nationalism seen in the military polling active duty service members continues to rise, especially people of color in the military. Their number, I think it's half of every, half of every black person in the military has said they've seen white supremacy or white nationalism in the military, and that number continues to rise. That's on top of domestic planning within the military from neo-Nazi groups. This is a real thing.
I got a question. Hold on.
Where's this data coming
from? The Military Times.
Okay, dude, no.
You know, the Military
I mean, I would
Times
love to see that data personally before I just took your word for it.
Let me interject something here real quick. Let me interject. I got to put my own. This is anecdotal at best, I know, but I got to put my own experience in here in regards. So here's the thing: Military Times. It's still a news outlet. Is it provable? That's hard to say. But to sit there and say that people have seen this and experienced this, that's gonna translate into cold hard facts. If you can give me actual instances where it was proven,
yes,
I will accept that.
I can give you.
But hold on.
In 2018,
I can give it to you too. I can give it to you
as
well. I get William Stanton, my first sergeant. He was black, also a black Mason. Literally pulled up to our company CP where a bunch of white soldiers were standing around and said it would really look good if I had a bunch of white soldiers on the hood of my car. The Sergeant Major Cannon, who was actually battalion sergeant major, was also another black Mason. Nothing happened to him. Nothing. He had a congressional put against him. He was not touched. To sit there and say that it's only, and I'm not saying you say this, but what I am saying is trending, is that it's only white nationalism. Racism is racism across the board and should be combated at all fronts. To sit there and say there's a white nationalist problem, I served 13 years in this nation's military. Not once did I deal with a white nationalist. Not once. And that's not saying, well, John's probably because you are one. What I did see was a lot of minority people out there that were possibly discriminated against, but it was from other minority people, which would blew my fucking mind. And then racism displayed towards white people was insane to me as well. But the other part of it was nobody really cared. And I'm not saying it was right or wrong. I'm saying it just was. It was acceptable. Now we live in an age where it's no longer acceptable. You can't make racist jokes. You can't do that anymore because people have gone hey, it's offensive. But back in the day, it wasn't really that big of a deal in the sense of jokes. My wonder now is that these jokes, is that the sign of the white nationalism or the white supremacy that people are claiming? Because the 13 years that I served, brother, I never, not once, saw a white nationalist. Never would have happened. And by the way, the equal opportunity representatives in the military, majority of them from the Army, from where I was at, were black. and they
Yeah,
had
all the
more
time.
power
I
than
am-
anybody out there.
I am
More
so
power. They
happy
could
that
take-
your branch of the military seemed to be the Civil Rights Battalion, and they were all holding hands singing
No,
"Kumbaya."
that's not-
and
that-
I'm
you
happy.
can't
I'm happy
really
we're
Oh my
standing
God.
up. I'm happy we're
That-
standing
that
up
he
for
was
the
in the
poor
infantry,
white man in the
infantry.
military getting bullied by all the black service members. But the thing
So
is,
wait, so now
the
you're saying
number-
that based upon my race, I don't matter?
No,
My experience didn't matter?
That is what
what I'm
he's
saying.
saying. That is what he's
your-
saying.
No, what I'm saying
that
is
is
your
what he's
lived
saying.
Please tell me,
experience.
please tell me that it's my skin
I am.
color.
You know
my
what?
experience
You know
doesn't
what?
matter.
You know what?
Are you
Here
saying
it
my
is.
experience doesn't
Here it
matter?
is. I'm saying your lived experience matters to you. It doesn't matter when
There
you
it
look at
is.
the larger part of
There
the
it is.
data.
Right.
Because
So
the
my
data
lived
disagrees with you.
experience no longer matters.
My lived
Therefore,
okay.
you're a white-ridden guilt
What the fuck?
liberal. That's what you
the
are.
Fuck?
So
I
my
don't,
experience of
hey, man,
experiencing racism by my
my
person
skin's right
doesn't
here.
matter.
I don't hate it. No,
That's
listen to me.
impressive to me.
Listen
That's
to me.
impressive.
Okay,
And
I'm
that's
sorry.
why the American
this is some
military and the press
SJW
are the way they are
cuck shit
because
that
of
I've
you.
never actually seen before.
That's ridiculous.
There's some outrage.
You sit there and say that my
some
experience doesn't matter because the overall
emotional
picture doesn't support that.
bullshit. I don't want to
Interesting.
deal.
Very
I
interesting.
don't know
Like,
if
a
somebody
lot of what
bullied you
said
when you were in the
did resonate with
military
me
and you're still
because
holding
what
feelings
you
about
did-
it.
what you
But
did
No,
the
highlight-
this
fact
is
of the
literally,
matter
I'm giving
is,
you a case in
May I-
I'm
point.
giving you
May I-
data, and you're giving me your
Everybody-
personal anecdote. And you know
everybody's
what?
got
You're
I'm
saying
sorry.
data.
I'm sorry you.
But I
Your
haven't
data
seen
came
it.
from
I'm
the military
sorry
line.
someone bullied you in the military. I'm sorry that happened.
It
but what
wasn't
I'm
just me,
talking
though. It
about
wasn't
is
just
no
me.
black man has ever strap bombs to his chest or do inside the station terrorism.
What does that have to
for-
do?
Because I'm about
That's
to
a
give you
false
because you
equivalency.
haven't listened to me.
Hey,
Listen to me.
what? That's a false
I am
equivalency.
giving you examples
Have
of
you never heard
neo-Nazis
of-
trying to plan terror attacks from within the United States military. I tried to give you that example
Okay.
earlier and I was interrupted.
But you
In
literally, but wait a minute.
2018
So wait,
give me an example. Give me an
you're wanting me
example.
to
People of color have never
you
done
literally
that.
just-
If you're a
just
naval
go to my
shipwreck,
experience.
Just get it all out.
That's
and tell me
interesting
what I
to
can
me.
talk. Get it all out. and Tell me what I can talk.
That's interesting to me.
Get it all
Like
out.
you're
That's an
disregarding
anecdotal
my
story,
individual experience, saying, "Oh, I got bullied by the black," and it's like then you expect me to sit here and listen to you. That's ridiculous to me. Like you're casting aside my own experience, saying I was discriminated against. My NCOR did reflect. William Vincent was my actual platoon sergeant. Even told me, like, John, he's right. He does not like you. He does not like you based upon your skin color. And therefore, I should then say that my individual experience no longer equates because of what you read in the Military Times, which, by the way, is an opinion-based military newspaper. Are you serious with this?
Can I go now?
That's incredulous to me.
Okay.
That's really incredulous.
That's not data, and especially when you breed such a victim's mentality of like, oh
Good
well,
Lord.
if this person says that they encountered a white nationalist, like okay, well when you
What are they defining as a white nationalist? Like
Exactly.
the polls, they're
It's
so
like the
biased.
manipulation I talked about.
If I may.
and that in itself,
Over to
is-
Rob.
Okay, I'll just
Sorry.
let
I'm
everybody
gonna step
go.
back.
No,
Everybody get it out.
Dylan,
I'll
so
let everybody have
I
their
will
take.
try to make Dylan's. I'll try to make like at least some. I think Dylan's going to say we have examples of foiled terror attacks that were carried out by white nationalists, and he said, "Do we see people of color doing that? What was the race of the person that shot up Fort Hood? I forget.
Hassan, Hassan.
What was his race,
Can I just
Dylan? Do you
say
remember?
something?
Wait, is this a
Do you
question to
remember?
me?
Yeah, I'm
Because I
not
was just letting
talking-
everybody,
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
letting
yeah.
everybody do the therapy time, letting get it out.
No,
on the white
we'll
liberal,
get to-
white
we'll
guilt. I
get
get
to
it.
more of you in a
I
second,
really
Dylan. We'll get to
appreciate.
more.
I really
What was the
appreciate how
race
you
of that
sit there
person?
and you passively aggressive insult the
What's the
experience
thing?
that I am relating
Look,
to you.
okay, I can
in
tell
regards
you.
to how
Do
I
you
was
want me to
discriminated against.
respond to your lived
You know,
experience? Look,
hold
do you
on,
want me
Dylan.
to-
Hold on.
No,
I
you don't.
find,
You
hold
don't
on.
want me
Hold
to
on.
comment.
Can I just say-
I get it. You're
Hold on, real
offended. I
quick.
get it. You're offended,
No,
John.
no, it's not a matter of being offended, Dylan. When last time we had this debate and I had you as a panelist on here and you described the issues that you went through a sexual past, not a single person on this panel dismissed you. Every single person respected what you had to say, and no one tried to discard or discredit or cast aside what you experienced. But what you just did in response to me, I'm not offended by it, but it's certainly showing like a trend of hypocrisy on your part. You're saying that you want me to listen to you. Well, I'm asking you to do the same to me. And clearly, apparently, my experience doesn't matter to you. Because in the broad picture, white people, a white person, oh, I'm sorry you were bullied. It was a big deal. It ended my career. 13 years that I served, I worked my ass off. 4.5 years spent in Iraq and Afghanistan. And if you want the honest truth, it was a black man, and I don't blame all black men, it was a black man that ruined my career because he was racist. But I can't say that in the public eye because God help me if I do. You're a racist that just hates black people. No, this is a fact. It happened. So to sit there and say that my experience doesn't matter because I'm not a person of color is disrespectful. And quite frankly, it's almost racist towards white people. So how dare you, sir? How dare you cast aside my own experience? The time that I spent overseas defending your right to talk to me like this, which is your right, I support it, was destroyed by a black man. 2 black men, actually. William Stanton and Sergeant Major frickin' Cannon. I never forgot them. And they destroyed my career. All because they didn't like me. Because I was white. But I can't come out and say that. God forbid if I do. I got to take a step back. I apologize for that. But it's just, man, I get so tired and fed up of saying just because you're white, what happened to you doesn't matter. And I feel like that's what's going on with a lot of white people that have been discriminated against, not just by black people, but other people as well. So if you want people to rally against this idea of fighting and combating racism, then maybe you need to start taking into account that discrimination does not occur one-sided. And we can stand in unity saying this needs to stop. But don't discredit somebody just because based upon their skin color, it's not likely it happened to them.
Okay. So can I respond?
Absolutely.
Okay, so before anybody jumps on me, again, let me be clear. I'm not like in support of whatever happened to you. I don't think it's good. I'm sorry whatever bad thing happened to you in this instance. But when we're talking about policy discussions, what always matters to me is hard data or general trends, right? For example, if we're talking about like hard data on like where all the here's a great example. Let's say we have 3 districts in a city, right? And one, no fires. Another one, there's a fire every once in a while. Last one, it's on fire constantly. If I'm developing policy for where I'm going to send the vast majority of fire trucks, I think the data points to that last district. Now, there could be people in that second district saying, wait a second, my house burnt down. I want fire trucks in my city to make me feel safe. I want a higher rate of them. And you know what? Their lived experience matters. But when we're talking about general policy, we have to look at hard data. And so I'm sorry that happened to you. I didn't mean this as some slight or disrespect, but that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about general data here. And that's why I'm saying.
Why can't we combat it as a whole?
Because
can we talk about bad data? Can we talk about data?
Let me quick. The stand down order is not about just white nationalism. I thought it was, but actually it's only about extremism. The entire
can I just interject real quick? Because you're talking about a poll where they polled people and asked them, have you experienced white nationalism in the military? Which is pretty subjective because you're depending on the people to give a fair and balanced answer and ignore their own biases. So if you were to put a poll on Americans right now and say, how many do you think that there's an overwhelmingly amount of white people who are racist? I bet you a lot of them would say yes, even though it's completely subjective. That's how you end up with these ridiculous narratives.
We have the data. So let me ask you this, Dylan, or anyone else that would care to respond. Would we say that because what you're talking about is an opinion poll, which it's hard to, like BX is saying, it's hard to get into people's subjective mind of what they mean about white nationalism or what they experience. But let me ask you this. Would you say it's fair to say, although it wouldn't be an exact comparison, that our military probably at somewhat kind of mirrors the population in general? So if white nationalism is a problem in the population, there's probably some sort of connection to that, to the military.
Not exactly. The thing is, certain groups are overrepresented in the military. A great example is Southerners. Southerners are very, very overrepresented in the military, is because they recruit in certain areas. Usually people who want a second shot at life, for example, because they couldn't find employment other places. A lot of times the military will be an option for them. People who can't afford to pay for college will take advantage of what the military offers. And so certain groups are overrepresented. For example, not a lot of people from like the high stakes California residents are going to be joining the military at high rates. That doesn't say that doesn't exist, but when we're talking about who's represented, so it's certain communities are overrepresented in the military. Okay, right.
So I have a point to make. So just one other question, real quick. Would you say if we polled average Americans that weren't in the military and we asked them which race is most likely to have someone to commit crimes out of racial animus, which race do you think overwhelmingly would be said?
I assume the poll would probably come back as black people for multiple reasons.
No, it would say white people.
You
right?
think
And
so?
this is probably yes, because here's the problem. Our media, our establishment class, and our military is pushing critical race theory that talks. For example, The Root had an article yesterday that said whiteness is a pandemic. We talk about the need to reject whiteness. We talk about the need to have white fragility. We have corporate sponsors that are talking about people needing to reject their whiteness. The idea of whiteness is constantly being denigrated and mocked. Would it surprise you to know that according to Bureau of Justice statistics, real quick, when we're talking about actual data, would it surprise you to know that the Bureau of Justice statistics from 2019, which I've linked in the chat, says overwhelmingly the race most likely to commit hate crimes was black Americans?
No, I did not know this.
That's
Rob.
data. That's data. That's not an opinion. That's data. So why aren't we talking about black supremacy and the problems with black hate crimes and things like that? I wonder why not.
Wait, Rob. We're okay. So if I start seeing black nationalist terror attacks planning from within the military, then I'll look at it and be like, wow, that's a huge issue. We should review it. By the way, the stand down order is not we're gonna review every white man and check all their thinking stuff. And if they voted for Trump, we're gonna kick them in the balls and make them feminists or something. What it is just an extremism review. It's just extremism. Okay.
If I may, I have more.
Hold on. Panelists, we're gonna go.
I'm trying to read this data. Can Rob clarify what he's talking about?
We're gonna go to GSU. Hold on, we're going to GSU. Then we're gonna do closing statements. We got to move on to the next topic.
Yeah.
Okay, GSU, over to you.
I just think when we reference data, we should be accurate. It says that 52% of the known offenders were white and 23.9%.
That's what I saw.
That's right. All I want to do is correct the record. If we're going to refer to actual data,
so what did I say that was inaccurate? What
you
did
said
I
that it
say
was black
most
people.
of them were black. And it's just
no, I said that on average, black people are far more likely to commit hate crimes than others.
You mean they're overrepresented?
They're 13% of the population.
What this data says.
Yes, how many? What percentage of the population is black?
Wait. No, this is a quick talk.
Okay, well, that's not how this data is reported. So you're extrapolating.
Exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, hold on. It is 8:10. It is 8:10. I said GSU be the last.
We gotta go.
Let's come back to this. Let's come back to this if y'all want to a different panelist after this. By the way, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Panelist Dylan, I got nothing but love for you, bro. I mean that. I got no beef with you. I know we get heated. I apologize if I came off too strong, dude. I'm sorry. It's just. I know you don't fucking hate the military. I know we're cool, man. We're cool. I apologize for going off on you like that. But chat, I'm gonna step out of Discord. I got to do this promo. Take a 5-minute break, guys. Come back. It is currently 8:11.
We're not doing closing statements.
No. Oh goddamn it. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. All right, we're gonna do closing statements. I'm sorry. Rob's better at moderating than I am. We're gonna start with Captain America. Captain, you got 1 minute to go ahead and give your closing statement in regards to the original topic of Putin and Biden. So let's get back to that. You got 1 minute. Go ahead, sir.
I'm going to go ahead and close out on the last subject because Putin and Biden have long passed. I would say that a lot of this has to do with, once again, the conflation and the lowering the bar of what constitutes a white nationalist, white supremacist, whatever. All right. At the end of the day, when I was born in 1990, you had to actually declare yourself as supreme to others to be a white supremacist. By 2000, you simply saying a racial slur made you a white supremacist. 2010, making racial jokes was a white supremacist. Now in 2020, 2021, it is you just exist and you're a white supremacist to some people. And unfortunately, that just is the way that things go. So if you lower the bar that low, then yes, the army is absolutely full of supremacists. We also lowered the bar on what an extremist is. So yes, using modern definitions that we have, deflated so much to where it is the widest, most vague description of the word possible, then yes, the army, the military, all of society is full of extremists, supremacists. Everybody is evil. That's all I have to say on that.
All right, Dylan, up to you. You got 1 minute, sir. Go ahead.
Now, I want to be clear. The data isn't just, wow, this rate is high. It's the number is increasing year by year by year. And it seems to have increased in a time where there's a lot of racial animus in the country. And I don't think anybody in this room is going to disagree that race relations right now are not at an all-time high. And then there's also the fact of the matter is maybe I could believe this idea that, well, maybe the data is just the data, who cares? But it seems that military officials continue to agree, high-ranking military officials continue to agree that extremism continues to be a problem with the military, and there is multiple thwarted attacks from within the military. Right? That is why I'm thinking, maybe a stand down order, not let's fire everybody, but just an order to review the situation is not a radical proposal. And on the original thing, again, Blinken's and China's meeting was like, it was not like an embarrassment. Blinken didn't get ran over, because if the idea was Blinken got ran over, then China also got ran over because China did a whataboutism in response to America's comments. So the fact that Blinken did a whataboutism back to them meant that Blinken got ran over. Wouldn't that also meant China got ran over? It seems a little ridiculous to me. Biden's fine. He's in tip-top shape health. He should be making speeches at Harvard. There you go.
Brad, over to you, sir. 1 minute. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to try to take it back to oil. If we look back to the prior administration, there were a lot of people that praised the sanctions that were placed on Iran. But in my opinion, what it actually did was it drove deeper relations between China and Iran. You can see that they did a currency swap exchange. That way, China's going to be able to sell oil to Iran in the yuan. And I'm going to try to tie this into the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. You have Blinken in the United States coming out right now. I think this is the bigger deal between Biden and Putin, not really the debate. But you have the Nord Stream 2 pipeline almost completed, which is going to be bringing a lot of energy supply from Russia into Western Europe. And this is really going to be one of the geopolitical battles. So while we're talking about, like, is this good or is that good? And is that debate going to happen or is that debate going to happen? There's actual things changing on how oil is priced, how oil is paid for, how Russia and China are trading with one another in what currencies, how China and Europe are trading in currencies and so forth. And it's a bummer to waste like an hour on a meme type thing.
Over GSU, sir. Go ahead.
Biden is gonna beat Putin in this. No, I'm joking. Yeah, no, this. I think we've said a lot on this topic. I think that there was some downplaying of systemic issues, but I don't think those things reached the level of what's happening in China with the Uyghurs. But yeah, we'll. I want to go to the next one. I want to drink, so let's do it.
Rob,
You
go
don't
ahead,
have to
sir.
wait for us to tell you to drink. You can.
Rob, go ahead.
You're an American, damn it. You can drink when you want. So real quick on the Putin thing, like, yeah, the problems with it is this. We know Biden's weak. Putin knows Biden's weak. Putin would have never done this with Trump. Our adversaries around the world know that Biden's weak, and they know they could call him out. And his reaction of having his press secretary say, sorry, he's busy, instead of saying, F you, Putin, you're a murderer, we're not talking to you, makes him look even weaker. I would just like to take this time to just say, give a little lesson to everyone here on how data works. We all ask for data. I don't know if it's because people are ignorant of how things work, or if they're being intentionally obtuse. If 13% of the population is committing nearly 24% of hate crimes, that means proportionally they are way more likely to commit those hate crimes than any other race. But if that's not the case, if we're just going by total numbers, I would like to say that our panel has just announced that actually there is no problem that Black Lives Matter needs to solve, because did y'all know this? Last year, 432 whites were shot to death by police and only 226 blacks. So according to the logic on this panel, that proves that the police are racist against white people and not black people. Of course, everyone on this panel knows, well, there's far less a percentage of blacks, which means that they're far more likely to be shot. But as soon as it goes in the other directions, people pretend they don't understand how data works. Stupid.
BX, over to you. You got
It's not that
1
we
minute, go
don't know how data works. Is that you link something in chat
no,
where
no, no.
everybody's
Let's keep it-
screaming at each
keep it on
other.
topic.
Hey,
Okay.
you referenced us.
ahead. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, you're right. You're
Yeah,
okay.
I mean,
You're
so,
right, you're
so
right.
the,
Come at
the
me.
issue is that you link something and like we only have a few seconds to look at it, and we don't have raw numbers to compare per capita percentages. So we're just taking the data for what it says and not actually, we don't have time to look into it. So it's not like we're
I just
being
thought that was
obtuse.
common knowledge, but I'll shut up now.
Let's
Okay.
finish it. Let's
Anyways,
finish it.
I would also say, like, I agree basically with what Rob said about the whole Putin thing. Dylan, it's not just you that, or it's not just us that think that Biden's on the decline. The whole world thinks that Biden's on the decline. They know he is. That's why Putin is making these attacks towards him. That's why he's being so ballsy and calling him out on the world stage, because he knows that he's not going to do anything, and it's just going to make us look, it's going to make Biden look even worse to the rest of the fucking world. So, I mean, that's what I think. I think that this is just a sign that the whole world can see what's going on with Biden in his head.
I was called out. So
All right.
how does that work?
You see, this is the problem.
No,
so,
no.
Look, no, hold on.
I
So,
called
in
you out.
all fairness, this is my fault.
You
as a
let Rob
moderator.
do
I
it.
flipped up. I did. You're right. 100%
I was good,
right. It doesn't matter. Panelists, again, stay on topic. Do not reference somebody else. I'll do a better job at moderating. Please stay on topic. Otherwise, you're giving a shot across the bow that somebody can't respond to. All right. With that being said, let's take a 5-minute break. We're going to come back and discuss the next topic. It is currently 8:17, so please be back here by 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Be back by 8:23. I'm going to step out and do the promo. I'll be right back, panelists.
FYI for everybody, my mic is probably going to stay hot while this goes.
Oof, man, that was rough. Oh my God. I didn't think I was going to be the only one here standing up. So let me be clear. The military times data, okay? The thing is, whether you disagree with what one person disagrees with on what is white national and what isn't, the fact that it continued to rise during the Trump years, and then we have actual confirmed white nationalist terror attack planning to destroy American military units in the Middle East, I think that shows that there's a problem. And it's not a white people review, it's an extremism review. So the whole problem of why don't we look both ways, that's what this report would even do in the first place. And I don't know if any black nationalist terror attacks from within the union or whatever, I don't see that happening. As in for the Blinken conversation, I did like a whole I did an hour-long segment on the China Blinken meeting. And my take about, actually, I think Blinken went too hard, has to do with the fact that I think usually when you start negotiations with another nation, you start from an equal point and then you build up towards the issues. And Blinken actually, and this is what Rob says, this is the situation that Rob says is actually Blinken getting run over. Hours before the meeting, the United States signs multiple sanctions against Chinese officials in the mainland and in Hong Kong. Then they have the meeting, and the first thing Blinken says is, Xinjiang, Hong Kong, South China Sea, intellectual rights, and copyright infringement, all these issues are ours, blah, 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 blah. And then China, caught off guard, says, this is not how you welcome a guest with sanctions and da-da-da. What about the condition of black people and what you did in the Middle East? And then Blinken responded, because China did a whataboutism, then we did a whataboutism, and then, you know what? Because then at that point, China tries to rush out the journalists, because China, didn't like how this was going, didn't want the journalists to see. Then Blinken and James Sullivan, no, stay here, journalists, stay here. And then talks about Korea, Japan, and that's the scenario where apparently Blinken got rammed, got destroyed. Perfectly fine. As for Joe Biden's health, we have no evidence that he has dementia. He is an old man who has a history of stuttering problems. If you're telling me that we have people who are too old serving the presidency, okay, I can agree with you there, possibly, but that would also apply equally to Trump and our other recent presidents. So, I don't know. Seems a little ridiculous to me. This segment was a little out of there. Oh, by the way, if Joe Biden is so incompetent, how is he signing so many more executive orders than Donald Trump and getting so much more done than Donald Trump, even with the entirety of the Republican Party trying to trip up a stimulus of 1.9 trillion people that's agreed upon by the majority of Republicans and 75% of the American people? He still got it through. Yet he's incompetent. He's inept. Yet he's able to maneuver around the entirety of a 50-50 split United States Senate and get a stimulus bill through to budget reconciliation. I don't know. It doesn't seem inept to me. I'm going to go get something to drink quick. I'm going to play, you know what? No, I'll unmute. I'll let them talk, right? I had my time, my little preachy time.
Whatever you're looking at.
On the Twitch.
Nah, Rob's talking to his own people. Anyway, I'll be right back. I'm going to play this song quick. I'll be right back, everybody. Okay? By the way, if you're conservative and you say executive orders are for dictators, then how the hell could Trump do a state of emergency to build a border wall, okay? It's the tools we currently have as the president of the United States, and we're not going to let the Republicans use those tools, but not let us use those tools, okay? I'm sorry that you want Republicans to have, like, no gloves at all and be bare-knuckle boxing the whole time. The Republican gets in and they pillow fight. The Democrats get in, they pillow fight with you, but nah, we're going to take the gloves off too if you do it as well. I'm sorry. If you don't think it's right, then okay, then you need to get a bipartisan consensus to stop this use of the executive orders in this manner, okay? If you can get that done, then you get it done. But right now, we're going to use the tools we have at our disposal, which is executive ordering, helping DACA, and rejoining the WHO, all this stuff, okay? Let's get back.
I feel like we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Like,
Dylan, are you there?
I'm back now, yeah.
Right. I have an echo.
Listen, man, like,
no, Rob,
who's echoing?
Rob, yeah, there's like something. Rob, there's like a cup of ice or something.
Oh, that was
Rob.
me. Whoops, sorry.
Oh,
no problem. Rob, the difference between 13 and 23% and 60 and 57 from that poll, and the difference between the percentages, like the disparity, and most of the things that people use to lay claims to systemic racism and blah 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 are far different, right? Like it's usually not a 10% gap.
No, it's not. We're talking almost double. So blacks are about 13% of the population. They committed near 25% of hate crimes. That's almost double. That means that they're responsible for almost 2 times the amount of the population we would expect for hate crimes. The whites actually commit less hate crimes.
Panelists, we got to move on. We've got to move on, panelists. We are already over time. So here we go. Hold on. I got to get the actual thing right here fixed. Okay, sorry about that. All right, we got to move on to the next topic. Here we go. We're going to go topic discussion, 1 minute at intros, and then we're going to go into roundtable debate. All right, right now it is saying that the Biden administration under fire over lack of transparency on border crisis. President Biden's administration is facing increased scrutiny from the media for the lack of transparency around the child migrant facilities along the U.S.-Mexico border as the administration struggles to gain control over the border crisis. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and bipartisan delegation of senators are visiting El Paso, Texas, Friday to evaluate the surge of migrant children on the southern border, but they are barring access to the media due to privacy and COVID-19 precautions. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki told reporters earlier this week that the Biden administration remains committed to transparency and providing them with accurate information on the number of kids crossing the border, but reporters were not satisfied with her answer. Why are we still not seeing any images inside these facilities? One of the reporters asked, noting Psaki was first asked about media access to the facility 3 weeks earlier. Another reporter asked Psaki about an NBC News report that cited 2 Customs and Border Protection agents who expressed frustration with Biden Homeland Security officials placing them under what they believed to be was a gag order to prevent them from speaking to the media, prompting her to respond, "I certainly wouldn't characterize it this way." Human rights advocates have also expressed frustration with the lack of transparency coming from the Biden administration on the southern border, saying it's troubling that they are not allowing access for advocates looking to check in on the conditions of more than 13,000 migrant children who have been detained at the U.S. border. It has also been reported that the surges of illegal immigration has surged up to 28% since January of illegal immigrants pouring over the southern border. These border facilities are absolutely no place for children, and it's troubling that more access is not being provided to press and advocates seeking information about the conditions of children in overcrowded facilities. All right, panelists, we're going to go into roundtable discussion, 1-minute intros. Where do you stand on this as far as what's going on at the southern border? Nancy Pelosi has come out and said that it's actually not a crisis at the southern border. Surges have increased, according to this, about 28%. There's 13,000 children at the southern border right now. Migration facilities are overflowing. Where do you stand on this? Dylan, we're going to start with you, sir. 1 minute, go ahead.
Okay, I mean, I want increased transparency under the Biden administration, right? It's not like, oh, well, now the Biden's in there, I don't care anymore, right? If they're not allowing pictures from within the facilities, they should allow pictures from within the facilities. I would like to personally be able to view the conditions of said facilities. Point, end of paragraph. I don't think the excuse with like privacy and all that, okay, cool, that's fun and all, but I would really like for the public to be able to see this, not only for their safety, but for everybody else's peace of mind about the matter. They should allow photos to be taken within the facilities. When it comes to the surge on the border, as we know, there's a few reasons why this could be happening. There's increased cartel violence in a lot of these countries that are going on, destabilization of the economy, corruption crises. There's a lot of things going on in a lot of the caravans that are coming here. But of course, the big thing that people are proposing is the idea that Biden is somebody who people view as a lot different than Trump on immigration or migration, and therefore people are possibly coming around. And my proposal would be that I think we should welcome the vast majority of these people with open arms. There you go. There's my
Down
position.
to Captain America. You've got 1 minute. Go ahead, sir.
So I'm actually I'm a Homeland Security major, so this is something that I'm very passionate about. I appreciate Dylan's intellectual honesty and not dishonesty about, hey, now there's new administration in here. It doesn't change the way you view things. Well, if it was a crisis before and there's a surge now, then it's definitely a crisis. And the fact that these facilities were already, according to the left, very, very overflowed, and this was a crisis, then it is a crisis now, even more so. And one of the things that I don't like is the vast majority of everybody should be let in. I disagree with that heavily. There's actual immigration processing allows us to vet these people so that they are not a issue to Homeland Security. But not just that, like separate all of our Homeland Security and our worries about terrorism and all that aside. Most importantly right now, is there not a huge health crisis going on with a pandemic called, transcontinental, transnational disease that's everybody's claiming it's killing everybody. Are we not worried about that? And we're just going to let people come in, no COVID test, just let them jump the border and then join us. So as a part of your national security, you have to worry about disease and that flowing into your country. We do happen to share a border with a third world country. So just allowing them to completely hop the border, no vetting, terrorist organizations, transcontinental or transnational terrorist organizations can obviously use that. But I don't understand the inability to see how big of a crisis this is, not just from a terrorism perspective, criminal perspective, but also a pandemic perspective.
Over to you, Brad. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I really liked how Dylan put it. I think that we should be able to see. I think that there are a lot of people on the left that are demanding transparency, that we would like to see what the conditions are. I'm probably going to go as to why a lot of people are going to be, attempting their migration to the United States right now. When you have a CIA that overthrew how many different governments in Latin, Central, and South America from the 1960s to moving forward, when you had the war on drugs, when you propped up narco-terrorist groups, and when you have climate change damaging Honduran farms, making it almost unable for any of the agricultural regions to produce what they were doing before, you're going to descend into economic turmoil and crisis and so forth. So my biggest question is just going to be, how do the people from the Conservative Party wish to atone for the damages? And maybe even a lot of the conservative people would say, they're anti-CIA and anti a lot of what the things were done. However, they were done. They do have an impact. And this is what's destabilized many, many nations south of our border. So I really want to hear, what are going to be the things that they would like to do. I don't want to do what the European Union did with the Syrian refugees in Turkey. I don't want to give Turkey $4 billion and say, hey, we're just going to pay you off and we're going to hope you deal with the refugees for us. So I kind of want to hear what their thoughts are going to be.
BX Bullet, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody's kind of already touched on it, but there obviously is a crisis. It's not even any use denying it. So I don't know why the administration's being so obtuse and trying to, shun the reporters and claim it's a health crisis. Well, it's a health crisis, and like Captain America said, that's a huge concern for me living in a border adjacent state. The thought that there are all of these people coming in without any COVID tests, and you had Biden trying to get Texas to help pay for the testing at the border, and it's just a whole clusterfuck since he's been into the administration. Well, the first things that he did when he came in was start to undo all of the laws that Trump had set up. I mean, I don't think that it's any surprise that there's a surge in the crisis at the border, because you've given the people hope, because he's given them so much hope that he's going to start turning things around and allowing more people in. And I think that that's part of the reason we've led to the surge. And I just hate the way the media uses this. I hate the way the media tries to make it I'm glad that they're actually pointing out that it's still a crisis and they're not still in that phase where they're trying to say, oh, Trump had the kids in cages and now it's okay, because now they're not in cages anymore. They're in detention facilities. But I think that everybody at this point realizes that it's a crisis and that something needs to be done about it. And obviously, for me, more transparency is always better. I think that any time that the government tries to deny transparency, people automatically jump to conclusions that their government is doing something behind the scenes they don't want them to know about.
Rob Noor, over to you, sir.
So I think it's good that the leftists on this panels, and I trust they're arguing in good faith, that they're upset about the lack of transparency in the kids in cages. But let's not kid ourselves. The overarching amount of people in power in the establishment on the left have a completely different standard when it comes to kids in cages under Trump versus kids in cages under Biden. That's despite the fact that under Biden, there are 4 times more kids in cages than there were at the peak during Trump. We have an admission from Jacoba Robertson, I believe was her name, or Roberta. I'll get the name specifically for you, who admits that, as Dylan says, it is in fact Biden's policies that are leading to this, because he's being open to the rest of the world, and so they think that they could come here. That's why they're showing up with Biden shirts. Biden himself and Kamala Harris said that these facilities under Trump's were human rights abuses. So by their own definition, they're committing human rights abuses that are 4 times worse. This is the problem with the utopian ideas that people like Dylan espouse, which you say, oh, we should accept all these people. Yeah, then when shit goes bad, you have kids that can't get showers for up to 7 days, 4 times more than under the Trump administration, because of your hippy dippy idea that we should just welcome the entire world in here. We're releasing people with COVID and things like that. Women are being sexually assaulted every time they try to cross the border. 1 out of every 3 women, says Amnesty International. So this is why the open borders policy was a mistake. It's a drain on this country. It's leading to real abuses, and the left doesn't give a shit overwhelmingly when it's kids in cages and these terrible things happening under their administration.
GSU, sir. Go ahead and finish it off. You have 1 minute.
2 months ago, it was January 19th, 2021. And all of my friends on the left, rightfully so, were saying there's a crisis at the border. The idea that 2 months later, anyone could claim that that crisis has somehow been resolved is silly. So I agree with everybody thus far on the panel. The idea of saying that the crisis is resolved is stupid. There's always going to be judicial problems and lawyer problems. There's going to be problems with not being able to know whether the kids coming across the border belong to their parents, all of this stuff. All of these complex ideas are what lead to people being held at the border. Those things have not been solved in 59 days. Those things probably won't be solved during this administration. So we should push for transparency, like everybody else was saying, and I'm not for wholesale just accepting everyone into the country, but I do feel like a path to citizenship is a good thing. I don't know exactly what percentage I'd fall on that, but we'll figure out during the discussion.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Wait, one thing.
Go ahead.
Because everybody in the chat thought I dropped alcohol because I was drinking. No, I have these things on my desk, and usually I move them, and I thought I moved it, and I didn't. So my cup fell over, and everybody in the chat was going ham.
Everybody drink. Everybody drink.
Everybody drink.
I'm on water now.
All right.
All
so
right,
what do we
That's
do?
not in the rules, BX.
Hold on.
I had a class tomorrow.
There's open floor now.
No, not yet. I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna add in my 2 cents, then we'll go into open floor. So the way I see it, minute starts now. Yeah, essentially all the border policies that were lifted under Biden and his signing of 38 executive orders in the first 24 hours in office, roughly. And again, I didn't agree when Trump did it. I don't agree when Biden does it. I don't like the idea of executive orders. I think it circumvents Congress. It unbalances the whole checks and balances of our Congress, of the Senate, everything. But as far as the southern border, I feel like we've been at this for how many years now? This should be resolved by now. I like how AOC went down there originally. She posed by the chain link fence, crying in her face about how horrible it is. And yet since January, we've seen a surge in immigration or illegal immigration. She's only tweeted about she only discussed it twice. I think the care for this has suddenly fallen away from people on the left that use this as their posturing to go against Trump, saying Trump's a racist, Trump's a xenophobe, yada, yada, yada. And suddenly Pelosi and them are coming out saying, no, there is no crisis yet. You've seen a surge of 28% since January. It's an issue. It's a serious issue. And I think that Biden is incentivizing people. You've got Department of Homeland Security saying that we're not going to send children back if they come over. Well, what's that doing? That's incentivizing more people to bring their children. And I'm not saying that they're wrong for this. I get it. I'd probably do the same thing if I were in their shoes of saying, hey, I want my child to have a better life. But there is no utopian society. It doesn't exist in the world. And I'm sorry. I agree with Ryan in talking about security from a security standpoint. They're not being tested for COVID. The children are being kept in these overflow facilities that before were actually holding. These were the cages. Literally, they just reopened the same facility in the Trump administration, reopened it, and suddenly it's okay. I find this to be hypocritical on both sides of the aisle on this one, or specifically mainly the left. But we've seen this massive influx of people. This issue is not getting fixed. It's only increasing. I don't feel it's been given enough transparency, as all the panelists have agreed upon. Why is the press not being allowed in? This is bothersome to me. It makes me feel that there's something being hidden here. I want to know what it is. For that being said, it's open to roundtable discussion. Have at it.
So, I guess I could start. Yeah, I mean, this is what this signifies to me. And again, I do want to say I'm not ascribing bad faith to anyone on this panel. I totally take Brad and Dylan at their word that I think that you're outraged by these kids in cages that are 4 times worse under Biden. I think if you were outraged,
these kids that are in cages weren't separated from their parents. A majority of the ones currently are coming over by themselves and being placed into some type of holding facility.
Okay, let me ask you, Brad. Why were they
okay, wait, hold on. This was my time to talk.
You interrupted me to do so, but that's fine. I'll let you.
Because you're putting out information that's misrepresenting what's actually happening. Before, kids were being separated from their parents. Now it's kids that are coming across by themselves. Go on, as you were to keep spewing.
Okay, why were those kids under Trump? Why were those kids separated from their parents?
I'm sorry?
During the Trump administration, why were those kids separated from their parents?
I actually don't know.
Because there was a ruling in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals that said you could no longer house kids in facilities with parents because there was a danger to those kids actually being sexually assaulted or physically assaulted when they were in these cages. Yes. So it was actually the most liberal court in the country that issued an order that said that those kids could not be housed with their parents. And so, the idea that you're saying, it's somehow better now that the Biden.
Let's correct this a little bit.
I think that you're somehow saying that it's better that somehow, due to the decisions of the Biden administration, that we see a surge in unaccompanied minors, so it's okay somehow to put them in cages. That's not the argument that was made. It wasn't, the problems they're being separated from the parents. The argument was it's inhumane and it's a human rights violation, as Kamala Harris said, to put kids in cages. Now all of a sudden it's different. Now it's nuanced.
No,
now it's nuanced, right?
No, you're conflating that I exist with all the other ones. Okay, as you were.
Yeah. But separating the kids was a problem. The thing is complicated because they weren't able to verify the relationship, and there was issues with child trafficking.
Yes,
so I just want to be very clear on this.
I agree with that. I want to clarify something for the panelists. If you don't agree with the statement I'm going to make, please raise your hand. Would you say it's okay to separate a child from the supposed parents if there can be no proof of relation? Would you say that's okay until proof is given? Or would you say that's not okay?
I'm
Say
I'll,
no.
I'll go first.
What-
I'll say
All right.
probably not okay because I don't know what kind of paperwork they're going to be having. I don't know what type of like identification they're going to be having. And
Right.
if you do that initial separation, then I mean we all know how paperwork can be in any type of system, whether it would be a private business or a government business. So I would say no. I would go no.
And if I'll go second, I'll say real quick, I actually agree. Like, maybe I got a double negative here or something, so I'll just state exactly what I think. I think I'm agreeing with Brad here. Actually, no, I think that you should keep the kids with the parents for that reason because it's hard. You're coming from like
No.
El Salvador. You're coming
Hold
from
on.
Mexico.
I'm talking about we're two different scenarios here. One, parents come over with a child and they have supporting documentation to prove that is their child, versus parents coming over without documentation to support that is their child.
That's what I'm
There's a
saying.
difference
Good
here.
luck getting that. Good luck getting that documentation in El Salvador or Bolivia.
I know, but this is the problem that we're facing at the southern border.
Yeah, and I'll just say it real quick, right? So what sorry, I'm a little drunk. I swear here. What the kind of facilities do we have that there's not a camera or a guard to make sure there's not molestation or physical violence occurring in these cells? I mean, for God's sake. Now, if the kid's affirmatively being like, these people aren't my parents, like that's one thing. But otherwise, if they seem, you can kind of tell they seem like they're with them and they're frightened and they're holding their hand or something. I don't think we should separate them. But I just want to be clear. The reason they were separated was because the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. This wasn't something Trump decided. This was a court decision that occurred under Obama.
Brad, feel free.
That's why that happened.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you or agreeing with you, Rob. Can you just send that over to me so I can look?
Yeah,
through it
I'll
sometime?
try to
I'm afraid I have to disagree with the panelists so far that have actually vocalized. I think that they should be separated. Proof cannot be private for the main reason of not saying that it's like from kind of negative standpoint, but there's been proven that children have been using to smuggle drugs. They actually put the drugs in their diapers.
Yeah, it's
been proven that they sex traffic these children. So for the sake of all children, go ahead. That's the point.
I'll try to pull you over.
I'll try to pull you over.
Okay.
If they're bringing them into a caged environment, I think I feel differently. If they were just allowing them through the border into like a town, maybe I would definitely not be for that.
It's catch and release. They are.
Yeah, they are. After
they are. That's the problem.
Go. They don't just stay in the cage forever.
The situation. I'm not trying to step on it. But here's the problem: the catch and release has been. Biden is blessed off on this in a sense. They come over, they're caught, they get a court date and told to come back. So whoever's with that group of people, they're released and saying, "We've got your documentation. You have a court date to come stand before." Yeah, go ahead, Dylan. Go ahead. Okay. Interrupt me. I mean, it's fine.
I just want to say,
that's the issue that I take. The safety of the child.
So I don't want to wipe Trump of all blame for the child separation, because once that was done, at any point he could have signed an executive order to end that policy, and it took a massive amount of backlash, massive amount of grassroots organizing to eventually push him to overturn that policy. And he could undo it, because he did undo it through executive order in 2018 after it was in place for about a year. So for about a year that happened. And the problem with us just saying nobody with documentation, we have to separate them, is if we're looking out for the children here, we also need to take into consideration separating young children from their parents in these separations have deep psychological impacts, and we've lost a lot of kids. I don't know how we did it, but we've ended up losing kids in the system. Just straight up, the parents come back like, okay, can I have my kid? Here's the documentation. Oops. It doesn't happen.
So now hold on. Now you're comparing potential psychological damage of a child that's separated, albeit they will be eventually repaired, versus a child that is literally being trafficked for sexual or drug purposes.
The thing is, we're doing this deep psychological damage on a scale of basically all children across the border without this documentation, which I'm going to tell you is going to be a large percentage of it. Because when you're fleeing cartels, you're fleeing violence, you're fleeing economic desperation, you don't all the times think, well, let me grab the birth certificate, the ID, all of this stuff, and go through all of that.
Because
a lot of times you don't end up having it because, let's see, if the cartel's coming to kill you and your family, which a lot of times that's why a lot of asylum seekers end up coming over here, or a lot of people start fleeing the country. The first thing I don't think of is, damn, where's my passport? Where's my birth certificate? Where's the thing that I have birth certificate?
And how can you prove that? I get where you're coming from. I'm taking your statement in good faith.
But they aren't.
Here's my policy.
But if you can't prove that child is yours,
I'll give you
that it's not a sex trafficked child.
Because
because once those kids are there with coyotes and stuff like that, I mean, they're terrified. They're not gonna say it's not their parent. They're not gonna speak up because.
Go ahead, Brad.
How many people do you think fled Syria that didn't have paperwork or documentation?
Were they before they came in?
Going into Turkey? Wait.
No, I'm talking about as far as like the Syrian refugees that America took in back.
No. I'm talking Syrian refugees that fled into Turkey. There were like 3.4 to 3.8 million of them. Do you think they all had proper documentation, like illustrating who their family was?
Why were they
fleeing? Do you think because they were?
Why were
they were getting bombed in Idlib?
Okay, is Mexico getting bombed? Are they fleeing for that?
I mean, from certain narco-terrorist groups.
No, it's a false equivalency. I'm not saying that it's unjustified. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're not economic. Here's the thing. Here's the difference where I think I disagree with a lot of people. Economic sanctuary, I don't agree with. I just don't. If you're fleeing in a sense of like, hey, my own personal safety of government inflicted genocide, then 100% I agree with that. Economic
what if it's a group
I don't.
within the country? Like they're saying the drug cartels are the danger, not the government. So it's still a danger of their life. It's just not being perpetuated by the government.
Now we're going to a different conversation.
Wait, I was asked a question earlier. I was never
from a Homeland
answered.
Security perspective, why are we allowing the issues of another country to impact our Homeland Security?
As I stated, we created these issues. As I stated.
Well, no, we didn't.
No, hold on. That's interesting. So go back to that, Brad. Which issues did we create in regards to the drug cartel? And I'm open to hearing different positions on this one because my mind's not made up. Maybe you have some information I'm not access to or I'm not privy to.
I thought I was getting backup audio from somewhere. No, I would say a lot of the different CIA coups and overthrows that took place 1970s, 1980s, 1990s have
Dylan's in favor of those, though. So
I'm sorry, who was in favor?
Dylan's in favor of those, right? Bomb Syria.
Go get him.
Also, easy, Rob. Easy. Okay. Come on. He didn't say that. Stop leading.
No, he does believe that. Dylan, am I wrong?
No, I don't believe that we should have overthrown all these South America. I say that we should have supported one intervention once, and now I support them all. Come on, man, that's really disingenuous.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Dick Cheney here with better hair and a crown
in the 1960s. But Rob, I was looking up your thing, and I'm still trying to figure this out. But I do have a thing from AP News that says in 2016, the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that child migrants who came to the border with parents and were held in custody must be released. The decision did not state parents must be released. Neither, though, did it require parents to be kept in detention apart from their children.
Right.
So there was actually room within the legalese of the way that it was interpreted that the parents could have been released as well, but it was just a decision to release the children on their own and keep the parents within detention. So
let me pose you a question, Brad.
If I could explain this, yes, absolutely. What the activist progressive Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals wanted was open borders. So they tried to pass legislation that thought, we'll force, by the way, this was the Obama administration, we'll force the Obama and then further administration's hand because we'll say, well, you can't detain these children with the parents, right? So therefore, you have to leave the parents go too. And the Obama administration, to their credit, realized, well, that's insane because that means that anyone that comes in the country with a child will have to say, well, we can't detain the child with you, therefore we have to let you all go. But what the Obama administration rightfully did was like, well, shit, our hands are tied. We can't detain the kid with the parents and we can't just let the parents go or that's open borders. Therefore, we have to have a separate facility for the kids. You're right. We could have just interpreted that as complete open borders for anyone that comes with a child, but that's not the way the Obama administration or the Trump administration interpreted it. And they were right to do so because you know that flood we're seeing right now where we have 4 times as many kids. We're getting way off topic with, let's focus on the real issue. To hell with this whataboutism with Trump. How about this? We have 4 times as many kids in cages right now than when Kamala Harris said it was a human rights abuse. Now she's in a position to do something about it, but what the hell is she doing? She's stopping.
Wait.
Yes, in 2 months, it's that much worse.
So here's what we could actually do. We could have municipalities do a bond sale because there was ultra low rates right now, and they could take the money from that and purchase distressed commercial real estate properties or distressed hotels, house people in them temporarily, and then when the market returns and tourism comes back, then they can flip it back for an actual profit. If you wanted to get into like that.
So you think that people, so for example, I'm a cartel member,
Brian, we can't
and I get a child to come across the border, right? And so then you put me in a hotel and I'll stay there of my own volition without any supervision or anything like that. You think that that's tantamount to open borders? That's what it is.
Well, regardless, why does it incumbent on the United States people to deal with that? Like, I understand.
Do you think that there's any responsibility on us for our war on drugs in Latin, Central, and South America? Do you think we hold any responsibility?
Absolutely not. I don't today have to house somebody because of what 1962 happened in 1962. I don't have to do shit.
No, hold on, real quick. Brian, I love you. Brad, you actually make a really good point here. The only reason I disagree with you, Ryan, is this is such a slippery slope. Okay. Dylan, you're probably gonna love me for this one, but let me explain something real quick. I know. Hear me out. A lot of Republicans are gonna turn their ears off to what I'm about to say. I feel, and I know I'm kind of going in a whole different direction, but I'm gonna pull it back, so just bear with me. One thing that I've come to realize is that when we talk about, say, for example, the inner city young black kid that's working a, say, for example, $15 an hour job, and he's in the middle inner city, shit education, it's just a heap. How is that kid expected to rise up to the second spot to pay for an education, do these various different things where he can't even afford, say, for example, a car note to go out and start building his credit? There's an issue there. Now, the reason I bring up that point is that black people, when you actually look at it, Jim Crow was abolished in what, 65? They've been dealing with a lot more in regards to, and bear with me, I'm going to use two words that people don't like hearing, systemic racism. It actually existed in 65. It did. The laws were on the books. It was there. White people, when they came over to America, have had generations to build up inheritance wealth, essentially passed down from generation to generation. Now, it couldn't be like a lot of money. Maybe it was a house that was handed down to you or a car. Black people haven't, and I hate generalizing. A lot of people have not had access to this. Now, this is not sitting there saying this is white people's fault. This is not. I do not blame contemporary white people for the actions of the boomer generation, just like I don't blame all boomers. It was individuals that were responsible for this. Black people economically have been at a disadvantage. It's true, financially speaking. So now you might do what?
What does this have to do with immigration?
Let me get back to it, please. Let me get back to it. I'm bringing this full circle. Bear with me here, okay? So when we look at that example in regards to how black people had to deal with that stuff since 1965, even after Jim Crow was abolished, it still didn't end. There was still much racism that existed economically, okay? Now, from what Brad is saying, and I'm just speculating here, what essentially America got itself involved with in the 60s and 70s in regards to this drug war, which I think we can all agree has been a massive failure that's cost us billions of dollars. To say, to go off what Captain America says, that we're not responsible, part of me wants to investigate this further and say, are we? Did we create this? Because I referenced the Middle East. America armed the Mujahideen to fight the Russians, and suddenly now we're dealing with that same issue that we helped create. I'm open to debate on this one. My mind's
well,
not
the
made
American
up,
government has also disenfranchised black communities and minorities via the war on drugs as well, which has perpetuated this issue with systemic racism, which is why part of the reason why it still remains today. Because like I always say, I don't believe that the government really wants everybody to succeed equally. Because if we all succeeded equally, we would realize they're fucking bullshit and we'd be done with the government.
That's what I think more people did. Panelists, feel free to change my mind.
I just want to keep listening.
Hold on. I answered. No. I'm sorry. I caveat for Captain. Captain, go to you. Then we'll go Rob. Then we'll go Dylan. Captain, go ahead.
Okay, so within the Homeland Security enterprise, there's Homeland Security, there's Homeland Defense. We make a lot of foreign movements based off of Homeland Defense. All right, there's a lot of shit going on in South America. There was a lot of competition going on there, just like in Africa right now, between us, the Chinese government, the Russian government. We make moves. Okay. Now, we owe it to people of color to right the wrongs because they are people of the United States. All right. And I 100% understand that there are moves that we have made outside of the United States, but the United States owes the population of the United States. It doesn't answer to the security of everybody else. It doesn't. And if you want to give them the right to vote, if you want to give them freedom of speech, if you want to give them all these other things, the rights are for Americans. People of color have been systemically hurt by policies domestically executed by the United States. We do not owe it to every nation that has befallen the wrath of the United States citizenship. All right. There were some Germans that were pretty good people.
Fair enough. Okay. Fair enough.
We didn't.
I am one book that I might recommend that would be good on this would be The Jakarta Method by Vincent Bevins. But I'm looking at a thing over here: 1970 to 1973, Chile, Bolivia, 1971, Uruguay, 1973. What else do we have here? El Salvador, 1980 to 1992, Nicaragua, 81 to 90, Panama, 89 to 94. So the amount of time that we've had some type of operations in Latin, Central, and South America, to me, John, to go on what you were on, and then I'm done speaking. It's been a long time. I think that what's happening now is the chickens are coming home to roost. Kind of like you said, within the Middle East, a lot of our prior actions are now coming back to haunt us. And in my opinion, a lot of the United States actions in the global South, if we wanted to call it that, are coming back to get us.
Operation
Rob,
Okay,
down to
so
you, then over to Dylan.
Two things I want to say in this, and I'll try to make the points as succinct as possible. The first is, if we continue to govern on this idea of correcting the sins of the past, our country is doomed, as would every country. How far back in the past are we going to go? So, well, if the United States did something shitty to a country in 1920 and they've been suffering ever since, we're now obligated to the people of that country that they're to immigrate here and become citizens because of something that our government did generations before any of us were born.
2019 Venezuela sanctions.
Okay, well, again, but there's an argument as to whether or not I actually disagree with the Venezuelan sanctions. I totally say that. So the problem is this, that if there's any abuses in the past or anything like that, what our government needs to do is, one, do no harm. Stop harming other countries, right? We need to stop doing that. But second, that doesn't mean that we have to affirmatively help people in other countries, even if our country was wrong in the people in positions of leadership that cause pain to them, until we help every American that needs help. So as long as there's one homeless veteran... No, I'm getting to that, GSU. I'll get to it in the second point. So as long as there's one hopeless veteran, our government has no responsibility to say we're helping poor around the world. Period. End of story, exclamation point. Secondly, it's ironic that we then say, on one hand, oh, the CIA did all this fucked up shit in the past, therefore we now have to accept open borders from any of the country that did something shitty to them. But let's keep trusting them on every single warmongering scenario that they continue to push that's being backed by the left and by people like Dylan, who wants us to bomb Syria. Now, by bombing Syria, if we create more refugees there, then Syrian refugees will want to come to the United States, and Brad will say, well, we bombed Syria, we have to accept these refugees. And the CIA's got quite a nice little racket there, right? Where they just bomb the shit out of countries, create drug wars in them, and then say, oh, and now we have to leave these people in because of the problems we created. How about the first thing we do is stop trusting the CIA and the FBI and these other intel agencies, by the way, that engaged in a coup against Donald Trump, but that was supported by almost everyone on the left as well. And what you end up seeing happening is the same people in intelligence agencies and people in positions of institutional power that are saying, oh, we have to leave these people in because of the crimes that we ourselves committed in the past. It ends up having an adversarial effect on people in this country. So instead of worrying about what the drug war did to Bolivia, why don't we worry about what it did to the African-American community?
Instead I walk and chew gum at the same time, and I worry about both.
Okay, real quick. Instead of worrying about bringing in the poor around the world, who are they directly competing with economically when they come in? Overwhelmingly the African-American community. So instead of helping communities in this country that the left wing has basically gave shitty lip service to for 50 years, and the right wing hasn't done shit to help.
Trying to improve unions, trying to get Medicare for all, trying to fight for a $15 minimum wage, trying to get rid of
hold on. Dylan had his hand. Hold up, panelists. Okay. Over to Dylan.
I have not said anything except for my intro, yet I've been referenced about 4 times so far. I don't know why I'm so popular or why Syria keeps getting brought. I don't know why I got to talk about my Syria policy now, even though I don't think it's relevant. Okay, my Syria policy is that I supported Operation Inherent Resolve when it comes to supporting the SDF, because I think the SDF was the most effective fighting force against ISIS, and ISIS was a strategic enemy of the United States, wanted to destroy the United States, committed multiple attacks against the United States. I also saw them as an army of slavers who were worse than the Nazis. So destroying them, I thought, was not only a priority of the United States, but everybody in the region. I also saw the SDF to be the most moral force out of everybody in the Syrian civil war, with its compromises. Now, if you want to tell me that my policy was destabilizing Syria, even though it brought stabilization to northeastern Syria, and Operation Inherent Resolve was the most successful modern military operation of the last 20 years when it comes to stabilization of a force.
Should we still be there?
Wait, Rob, you brought up Syria to me 3 times. Let me finish.
Yeah, should we still be there?
Yes, we should. And Trump's pullout destabilized Syria, helped ISIS. Trump's long-term, last second pullout decreased anti-ISIS operations by 75%, destabilized northeastern Syria, caused thousands of people to have to leave northeastern Syria because of the Turkish invasion of the region. Well, let me finish. And all I'm going to say here is that Trump, late term, gift to ISIS, he destabilized Syria, okay? That's my Syria policy. If you're going to keep on bringing up Syria, I have to talk about it. But now let me talk about the actual topic at hand, which isn't Syria. It's the crisis at the border. I think one of the things, because I see a lot of concern about COVID, and it's good to see conservatives concerned about COVID, I would like to see something that would actually be really helpful here was waiving patent protections for COVID-19. This is something that would allow the countries that are actually most effective and have the least amount of tools to deal with this to be able to actually better start the process.
Wait a minute,
of dealing with
Dylan, did you just hit a libertarian point in regards to waiving copyright and patents? Are you?
You do know I'm pro Second Amendment, right? You do know I'm in the process.
I didn't know that.
I'm in a process getting an 870 Remington. Okay. Anyway.
You're right in this.
I am honestly taken aback. I love this. Okay, no. Continue.
Anyway,
I like
another thing I would like to see-
I like the idea you just posed. I love that.
Another thing I would like to do is stop ICE's use of private prisons. Biden said that he was going to stop private prisons on the federal level. He made an exception, and that exception was ICE. ICE has probably been one of the organizations that had some of the more flagrant abuses. DHS has not been perfect, but definitely in comparison to ICE. And not to mention, if you say stopping private prisons on the federal level, I think that should cover everything, including ICE. And when it comes to responsibility, let me just put it this way.
Can I ask you a question? Are you saying that
Hold on. Let him
ICE
finish.
is
Let him
using
finish.
private
Hold on.
facilities?
ICE.
Well, I think it's your main. Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
ICE-
I did not know that.
I believe ICE is using private facilities, yes.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So that was the one exception for private prisons. The last
I
thing
wasn't
I'll
aware of
say,
that either.
the last thing I'll say is when it comes to this idea of responsibility, I am very happy that if I went over to any of your houses and I slashed your tires, knocked in your windows, I lit the whole place on fire, and then went home, I say, well, my responsibility is to my family, so I don't got to do shit. I don't have to pay anything. I wonder if that's how the legal system handles those things.
That's not that's exactly not what's happening with our policy. If you did a crime, was I around in 1960 to fuck around and like dabble in their elections or install a dictator?
No, but I'm not asking you to be the only one to solve it. I'm not asking you to solve it.
Dishonest.
But you know, wait. Let me
No.
respond to that. Can I respond to that? I want
Go
to respond
ahead.
to that. You want to
Go
know what? You didn't exist then. The United States did. And the United States as an institution still exists. Therefore, the institution that did the bad thing should probably fix the bad thing.
We're not a
Pretty
high
simple.
mob. How this works. That's like, well, white people did this, so my whiteness
Exactly.
owns people forever. No,
All
that's
the
not.
white
No.
people,
Hold on.
yeah.
Hold on. Panelists, wait. I think there's a misunderstanding here. I get what Ryan's saying, but I also get what Dylan's saying in a sense of our government is what caused this, not a specific group of people within America. The government, specifically the CIA. I have to disagree with Rob and Ryan on this one, and I'm not saying citizenship should be what we deal with, but in the sense of if our government, and this is why I think it's such a slippery slope argument, but in the same token, I'm not sitting here saying that we should guarantee citizenship. That's not the fix. This isn't going to fix the problem. It's the whole jelly bean experimentation point. If you take more jelly beans from Mexico, which is representation of the Mexican demographic, and put them over to, I got you, Rob, and bring them over to America, the problem isn't fixed. They're going to keep coming over. The problem doesn't fix itself. So citizenship is not the fix here. But if the government, and I'm speculating here, I'm not agreeing fully with Brad, but if the CIA at the hands of the government was potentially a cause of this, even being back in the 60s, we still have people in power right now. Like Pelosi has been in office for 30-something years, Biden 40-something years. We have career politicians that were in power almost during those times. So it's like, I get both sides of this. Where is the fine line of saying, okay, well, this is a cutoff. If we weren't alive or if this politician didn't serve, then do we just wash our hands of this? Because apparently, this was a very hard thing for me to admit, America does have blood on its hands. We've been involved in situations we should not have gotten involved in, all for the sake of patriotism. Case in point, the Patriot Act. Under the hunger, we got to hunt down these terrorists. We got to fight Americans, but we're also going to go ahead and sacrifice.
That's really good.
Individual.
Oh my God, I hate Bill Clinton.
That was
That was
holy
Bush.
shit! Get where I'm going with this. This is the thing that I feel American people should be uniting under, saying the government has fucked it up numerous times. Shrink the federal government. They fucked up in Venezuela. They fucked up in the Middle East. They fucked up in Mexico. Let's stay the fuck out of these issues. But I do kind of agree with Brad saying if we were the cause, and if I'm only assuming Brad is right here, if we were the cause of the destabilization of Mexico due to the war on drugs, and I am speculating, I'm not agreeing, but I'm saying if this was the cause and can be proven, America does have some responsibility in this. And I'm not saying a specific demographic, I'm saying the fucking government. But ultimately, the taxpayers pay for this. Therefore, maybe we should be a little bit more proactive in the neocon war hawks that we elect into positions of power that are saying, send the troops, invade, do what you got to do, versus, hey, maybe we start understanding these have secondary and tertiary effects over the span of time when you destabilize a government or whatever the case may be. Maybe you should really think about that. Open debate. Ryan, down to you, then over to Rob.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't neocons either.
Yes, you.
Oh, you want Rob to go first? You can, but I'll just say
No, Captain, go ahead.
It's not even the neocons anymore. It's like our new Secretary of Defense is a Raytheon exec
Lloyd Austin, who would have thought?
I mean, but so was Cheney, though. I mean,
listen,
Cheney was
but
like, he got his
that's
dick in fucking Brown and Roots. I mean,
okay, but that's the point, John. And so I know we're on a limited time schedule here, so I'll just ask Brad this specifically. Brad, just a quick question. It wasn't just the CIA. I'm basically agreeing with you. All this shit that happened in these other countries that you're talking about, which I agree was horrible most of the time, maybe not all, we would agree. It's not just the CIA, right? You would include the State Department, aspects of the U.S. military, etc., correct?
I agree, and that's why I think that we have to have some type of conversation as to what can be done about it. Because I think this is going to be, as I stated, I got into politics because of environmentalism or my thoughts on climate change. So from my opinion and my position, things are going to exacerbate with greater and greater speed. You can look at Honduras and how their weather systems are changing or how their soil has eroded and so forth. So there's drastic changes happening near the equator that, in my opinion, are going to happen faster and are going to be, more intense. So that coupled with what was done, I think that this is going to be a problem that only grows.
Okay. Climate change aside, we could have that debate. But the point is this, right? So this is where this is where there's a disconnect. So everything John's talking about, I would answer simply with this. The U.S. government's also fucked over its own people. They're responsible to them first. Once we solve all the problems with people in the United States, then we could look outward. Now, this is what puzzles me, though, about Dylan. Dylan's talking about all this great information about how the intervention in Syria is necessary. Where's he getting this information?
Well, I got
the same media outlets and military outlets and intelligence agency outlets that told us that Venezuelan sanctions were good.
Let him answer. Rob, let him answer.
Well, the data that's specifically on the decrease of anti-ISIS operations was specifically from the Rojava Information Center, which is specifically the organization that is down there doing direct on-the-ground research. It is not an agent of the United States government in any capacity. So I don't know how that would be connected to that.
The truth is that we often see that, like, for example, Noam Chomsky just came out with 4 OPCW investigators that were silenced by the OPCW that alleged the OPCW was in my opinion, Trump's lowest point in his presidency when he bombed Syria. The OPCW came out and said that Assad gassed his own people. Noam Chomsky, supposedly a hero of the left, comes out with 4 whistleblowers that were on the ground that said, no, we have evidence that this never occurred, that this gas attack didn't occur, or that it wasn't directed by Assad, but they were put under the rug because the truth of the matter is Dylan is falling for the exact same propaganda that led to Libya, that led to Iraq, that led to Afghanistan, that led to overthrowing the Shah in Iran, that led to all of these problems Brad's talking about. So the point I'll make real quick is this. Before we use as an excuse that a policy like Dylan wants that says, well, the fucking CIA and the military screwed up the world, therefore we have to leave everyone in. How about we disband those goddamn groups and stop them from creating all of this carnage first and foremost before we say, oh, the same group that created this is what they do over and over. They say, oh, well, we're going to go in the 70s and we're going to sponsor the Mujahideen to go after the Soviet Union. Then we sponsor the Mujahideen. And then 20 years later, they say, well, we have to invade Afghanistan because Al-Qaeda is so bad. Who's Al-Qaeda? It's the Mujahideen that we created. We created Al-Qaeda.
Okay,
we
so
created ISIS.
Can I respond? I was told I was tricked by the United States government.
Brad, go ahead and then
I'll be super quick. I'm pretty sure it was in 1974, but there was a person that ran for president of the United States in the prior election called Bernie Sanders that wrote a paper about abolishing the CIA.
We should. I agree with him on that. He's wrong.
Bernie Sanders, 1974.
Okay.
From his third lake house.
To me being,
we got Captain America and then Dylan. We got Captain America and then Dylan. Candace stand up first. Go ahead and Captain America.
Okay, so a lot of these things are like, it's really easy to say, just abolish ICE, abolish CIA. But like, once again, once you realize like that Homeland Security picture and what exactly all the CIA does for us, it's one of those things where it's not so easy to just get rid of them. I definitely think.
What did they do for us? The drug war, destabilizing countries that we then later say we have to invade.
Illegal operations on American soil.
Hold on. Let Captain answer.
You will never, ever run out of bad ideas perpetrated by any one human being, let alone an entire organization, let alone an entire nation. All right. It's
Name me one good thing the CIA's done in the past 10 years.
And this, say again.
Name me one good thing the CIA's done in the past 10 years.
Here's a fun fucking fact. If they're doing their job right, a lot of bad things don't happen. You don't fucking know about it, man. Like,
it's non-falsifiable.
The terrorist attacks that haven't happened, killing you, your family, your loved ones, people in New York, people in Philadelphia, that's all the fucking CIA, man.
According to government studies, over 80% of all terror attacks foiled by the intel agencies were actually created by the intel agencies.
That's great. But I also know that I have friends that work in the CIA that are not just malicious fucking guys just sitting there pulling fucking strings. I disagree with a lot. I disagree with a lot of what we do as a nation. All right. If it was up to me, we would divvy up with the world powers every fucking sphere of influence and help those third world countries into development. The United States, guess what? If it was up to me, we wouldn't be in all these countries in the Middle East or Africa.
Why are we there?
We would be,
Hold on.
well, because we're competing for access. Because if we don't do that, those other nations go in there and they get all access. It's a very complex situation to describe over.
Whose intelligence has led to us going there?
Typically intercepts from the CIA on Chinese.
That's right.
So
Russian.
hold on. I gotta interject something here. I feel like you two are actually connecting, but I think the disconnect is at the governmental level. So say, for example, Mathis, I agree. The CIA has done some good. I'm not disputing that 100%. Even Homeland Security, even ICE has done some good there. Rob, I think your point, though, is that at the hands of the government, this tool that has been created, this sword that has been forged by patriotic Americans, has been mishandled and abused at the hands of the government. Therefore, it's done way more damage than it was purposed for. And I think the resolve, and I think a lot of libertarians like Rand Paul, and even Austin Peterson in regards to make it state run. In a sense, of, say, for example, ICE. Take it away from the federal government, give it to state. And if the state, say, for example, California, does not want to enforce ICE, they can disband it. They have nothing to worry about. But if Texas at its southern border says we do want ICE, they themselves provide truth. Would that be a compromise that I think both of you could agree upon?
The problem is that we're in the United States, we have very porous borders within the United States. So once they go into California, that's no longer California's problem. You find that with the meth distribution through MS-13 and a lot of the Latin Kings and all those other people coming up through there, is that once you get that jump to a very, very not like worried about its borders state, then access to all the other states is unfettered. So that itself is the problem. So unless you want
spillover.
Unless you want to submit to a fucking full-on check of your IDs, your driver's license, a passport every time you cross the state line, you really just open yourself up
so
for.
It's not pragmatic.
Look, you can't have total abolishment of the CIA immediately.
Hold on, Dylan had his hand up. I'm sorry. Dylan had his hand up. Go ahead, Dylan.
Okay, so what gets me about this so much is that Rob Noor asked me, Dylan, I'm about to get Dylan on this one. Dylan, what kind of establishment media, United States kind of cuck liberal stuff are you going to use? And then I report, actually, it's not something that's associated with the United States government at all. It's actually a separate organization with on-ground reporters. And I've actually talked to many of these people person to person. And you're like, well, actually, no. And anyway, Dylan, you've been brainwashed by the elites. And that's why you believe Bashar al-Assad gasses people. By the way, if you really want to talk about the OPCW reports, I can talk about the OPCW reports. The first draft report, also referred as the inspector report, is implied to have been drafted primarily by Alex, while the second was a management redraft, also referred to as the redacted report. Ultimately, the head of the FFM wrote a further redraft, which was published as the interim report. This interim report made no firm conclusion about the use of chlorine gas as a weapon in Duma, but the interim report was never meant to be a definitive report. And both the draft reports and the interim report explicitly note that further investigation were required. The final OPCW DOMA report was completed in 8 months and many other investigations later. Indeed, the final reports appear to have addressed, by either accepting or providing further information, many of Alex's points. And Alex is the leaker you're talking about. And by the way, what we're talking about is DOMA. We're not talking about all the other gas attacks. Bashar al-Assad gassed his own people. We're talking about one disputed thing with a redraft report that wasn't supposed to be released because it wasn't supposed to be a definitive report. And that's only DOMA. What about the other gas attacks I can point to, which all have very, very clear evidence? This is not disputed in the international community by anybody but Bashar al-Assad. And the thing about Assad is he's very blatant about his crimes. Here's a great example of it. He was doing a report, and I watched the whole thing here. He did an interview with Russia Today, and they asked him about the barrel bombs. And it was a very Assad-friendly reporter giving him softballs, and he even's like, so do you use barrel bombs, which by the way is illegal under international law? And he says, well, all bombs do damage. Very blatant there that, yeah, I use them, but fuck it, I don't care. Okay, so I'm sorry if you think I'm some liberal who's just using establishment media or whatever, but I give you something that isn't that as a source, and you instead of listening to that, you go down the dialogue tree that Dylan just believes the establishment. It's ridiculous.
That's not what's going on. We'll talk later, and you can give me
we should be talking about migration.
And I bet they have some sort of connection to U.S. intelligence. We shall see, just like the white helmets. But so I'm not going to get into the Syria thing much more. I'll just say this: do you think that we should have boots on the ground or bomb Burma?
Do Do I think we should bomb Burma? No, I don't think we should bomb Burma.
Do you think we should have boots on the ground?
Do I think we should? No, I don't think we should have boots on the ground.
Did you tweet just today that a Republican Congress
because
he condemns what's happening in Burma?
Yes, it was
doesn't want boots on the ground or bombs as a coward. Did you tweet that out today?
Yes, I did, because I do think it's a coward. Because I think the United States. Yeah, because
Mr. Rumsfeld here.
Listen to. Okay, so you think the United States saying, you know what? I think it's bad that the government of Myanmar has slaughtered protesters, committed a genocide, and overthrew the government is the same thing as let's invade Myanmar. These things are the same thing? No, they're not. We can condemn it and we can target military companies with sanctions. Those two things in an invasion are totally separate. For example, do you think that Trump was going to invade China when he placed sanctions on Xinjiang officials? No, that's ridiculous. No, that's a great.
What was tweeted today by you?
What I'm talking. Wait, let me explain my thing. I tweeted it. I know it. Okay. What my complaint about what he did is, I think he is compromising on democracy to try to just pretend the whole rest of the world doesn't exist because we would hate if this turned into an invasion. Even though everyone knows we're not going to invade Myanmar. We didn't invade Myanmar when they committed a genocide. So why would we invade them now?
He talked about not wanting to be the world police, and you said that he made him a coward.
Yes,
and that meant that he didn't want to support democracy around the world. The truth of the matter is this, right? Like, again, if you're correct about the OPCW, why is the 4 whistleblowers that have spoke up? Why is the OPCW refusing to acknowledge the evidence they presented that the Doma attack was false? Why is Noam? Do you think Noam Chomsky's like a right winger that's out to get Joe Biden or something?
Well, Noam Chomsky's also denied genocide in the past, so I mean, I don't think Noam Chomsky's perfect either on these types of things.
All right,
well, hey, it's good to hear.
Stop. I gotta throw it in. Pause. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna go into 1 minute closeouts, and we're gonna move on to our final topic. It is 9:16. We're over time. So we're gonna go into roundtable, or excuse me, closeout statements. Panelists, stay on topic. Do not reference another panelist. Rob, shame on you. Don't do it again, please.
John, I'm gonna reference you, but in a good way.
Okay, fine, good enough. All right, so we're going to go into 1 minute conversations. Brad, sir, you've got 1 minute. The topic, for those that forgot, was the southern border crisis and Biden's response to it. So, sir, you've got 1 minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me on tonight, and thank you also for letting me move into what I want to talk about, which is what I think were the underlying reasons and causes for what are some of the border surges that are taking place right now. The way that I wanted to wrap up what I said are there's 3 books that were influential to me on this topic. One of them is How to Hide an Empire by Daniel Emmerwar. One of them is The Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein, and another one is The Jakarta Method by Vincent Bevins. The Jakarta Method is going to be the shortest, probably easiest one to read, and then the other 2 are going to be a little bit longer, but I think that they're going to be beneficial into understanding a little bit of the United States meddling, Latin, Central, and South America, and why there's going to be such an influx of immigration coming into the United States through these borders over the next decade.
Can you link those names in the chat? I would be interested.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people want to see that. All right, Dylan, sir, over to you. 1 minute. Go ahead.
I don't know how this got made about my Syria policy. I'm perfectly willing to defend it, as I showed today, and I do not think that the stuff I advocated for, which Operation Inherent Resolve was the most effective mission against ISIS anybody in the entirety of the world was able to conduct, which led to a mostly stable northeastern Syria, which led to very frequent anti-ISIS operations. I'm not a hardcore interventionist. You want to talk about my policies? The reason I voted for Joe Biden is because I wanted to end our support for the Saudi war in Yemen. That's one of the reasons I voted for Joe Biden. So I'm not some hardcore interventionist. I just think that this specific instance was appropriate, it made sense, and it matched not only national security interests, but a humanitarian mission to end one of the worst organizations on the planet, okay? I don't know why I'm talking about Syria. I'm going to be talking about migration quick for a second. So I just want to quickly say that I believe that ICE should stop all use of private facilities, that we need to waive patent protections for the COVID-19 vaccination, and I also believe that accepting migrants... Oh, here's another thing we need to do. Hire a ton more election judges. We don't have enough. I'm not election judges. Immigration judges. We don't have enough, and a lot of these people are overburdened with work, and it's part of the reason why if you apply to be a United States citizen, it takes 10 to 15 years sometimes, which is a ridiculous process, and it makes sense that if you make it impossible to follow the law if you want to enter this country, a lot of people are going to take advantage of other opportunities and break the law to cross the border.
Captain America, down to you, sir. Go ahead.
So our immigration policy is already, it's it's a law, and whether or not they respect it or not is, it's immaterial to it. If they want to come into the United States, just like if I want to become Swiss tomorrow, I better go and abide by their immigration channel. The fact that we make such weak laws and the fact that we have such weak leadership that people think that they can just inherently come across the border and then just be gifted citizenship is really indicative of how weak we're viewed in the world as far as, our people's willingness to be like, well, we did our nation, people that were not even a government that was represented by me, by my great grandparents or my grandparents, people that voted. Like, we have a 70-year-old person right now, 80-year-old person right now that doesn't represent anybody in this room. He does not represent any of us. If you think he does, you are higher than pterodactyl tits. So but I really don't understand where you think that person represents you, let alone the person of 1964 represented the 1960s era American. So, once again, if that's your view and you think that we should just let people come into our country without regard to, once again, proper criminal, terrorist, or COVID vetting processes, then really the moment that an American dies, you can be like, wow, I did that. My foreign policy, my immigration idea killed that person. And if that could happen to one American, then I say it's not worth it. I'm sorry. I owe it to American citizens first. I don't owe it to anybody else.
I do have to add to that to say highest pterodactyl ticks. Well, pterodactyls are dead. They're extinct. They have fossils that are in the ground. So it'd actually be kind of low, wouldn't it?
I'll just go find looking for me panel.
I overthink shit. I'm sorry. Oh, that's fucking crazy.
That's all he was thinking about. As soon as you said that, he zoned out.
I did. I was going, wait, pterodactyls are dead. Like,
sorry.
All right, GSU, over to you, sir. You got 1 minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, so just like I was talking about in my opening, what Dylan was saying, I think a big part of the problem is the immigration judges and stuff. I don't think these problems are going to be solved. I think part of it is purposeful. I work in software engineering, so I have lots of friends that are here on visas, and that process is pretty disgusting. So I do want to see better forms of legal immigration. For the illegal immigration, I'm not as kind-hearted somewhat, but I do think if we ease legal immigration, it will hurt. Hold on, wait, did I say the wrong thing? I'm not as kind about illegal immigration, but I think if we ease legal immigration, it will curtail illegal immigration. But yeah, I think the situation at the border is always going to be disastrous. I heard a lot of people talking about systemic racism and its effects and how we should help those disenfranchised communities in America. And I just stopped talking. I was happy. I'm like clipping this and sending it to friends.
I didn't say, hold on. No, don't take it out of context. I'm saying there are issues. But yeah,
but you said you believe that those issues need to be addressed.
Yeah, I do. But in the sense of not.
All I feel is pain.
Because I would actually love to discuss that with you, because I think a lot of people are going to be a little surprised on my standpoints in regards to, if you look at this from an economic standpoint, America has a lot of issues to address that were essentially black people were given an unfair advantage, but also so were other minorities. So it's kind of representation of as a whole. I don't like general, but anyway, that's off topic. Cool. Rob, over to you, sir. You got 1 minute.
Yeah, and just real quick on that, doesn't count in my minute, but I do think I didn't say systemic racism. I just said that there's problems.
No, that was me. That was me. That was me.
No. I'm saying that GSU. They're I don't care what you label it. It's a goddamn shame some of the problems we see happening in the inner city, and it's a shame that our government hasn't done anything to address it. That's all I'll say there. Quickly on the original topic, look, we could beat around the bush. We all know the truth. The people in the establishment power in the left and in the establishment in general wailed and moaned that it was human rights abuses when there were kids in cages under Trump, and now that there are 4 times as many, they don't give a shit. And this is often the case you see with this moralization, where they say things like, oh, #MeToo, believe all women. Oh, kids in cages is human right abuse. Oh, and they say all this stuff. They don't give a shit about the kids in cages. They don't care about believing all women, because as soon as it could be used to say, okay, now you're in political power. Now a woman's accusing your person. Now we have kids in cages under your administration. That's 4 times worse. They don't give a shit, and they're silent on it. So that's just the truth. Biden's policy is leading these people. Lastly, I'll just say about the military. All I'm saying about this is about the CIA and stuff like this. If we're going to say, I disagree with the idea that we should have to help other countries out because of the terrible decisions of our intel agencies and military leaders and things like that. But what gets me is the same like, I'm not saying anyone on this panel, but the same people making those arguments that we have to leave these people in, then appeal to authority of those very same groups on so many other subjects. Oh, do you see how many military brass are talking about white supremacy and things like that? Oh, did you see that they said we need to invade Syria, or we need to make sure we don't pull troops out of Afghanistan or Iraq, etc.? Let's stop accepting these people as influencers if we're starting under the assumption that they caused this shit in the first place, that we're saying is leading to a massive problem that justifies bringing in millions of illegal immigrants.
BX Bullet, you got 1 minute. Go ahead.
Oh man, I really wish we could talk more about the.
I can't believe he didn't bring up Syria. I'm proud of him.
I agree with mostly. I like GSU's gambit. I kind of feel like that same way that he does is like, it's a super complex issue. And yes, I do think there need to be strategies for helping people who are already here, you know, but also we got to do something about the border. There's a crisis now. There's always been a crisis. And as far as the government lack of transparency, I mean, I don't think that doesn't surprise me because the government has not been transparent with us for decades. And I'm glad that we're putting the pressure on them now. I'm glad that we're starting to talk about that. And I think that we should continue to put pressure on politicians to be transparent in these situations and to stop fucking with this. Because I think a growing number of Americans are starting to realize that, you know, that the government's trying to pull fast ones on us. And we're starting to wake up and we're starting to realize this at a growing rate. And I'm glad to see even the mainstream media pushing the government to be more transparent on issues. I'm all for it. I think we should keep the pressure on them.
All right, so that concludes this topic of discussion. It is currently 9:26. Please be back at 9. We'll say 9:32. We're gonna take a 5-minute break to use the restroom, refill your drinks. We're gonna go into the final topic of debate tonight. Panelists, I'm gonna step away from Discord real quick to promote Shell Shock CBD. Again, 9:32. Be back, and we will resume the Drunken Debates.
GSU, are you there for a second? Can I ask you something? Okay.
Just
so
before you go,
up,
just to let you know, Rob, I'm not trying to interrupt you. I am live too. I think you are also, but I was just letting it to the panelists that my mic is hot. Just letting everybody know.
I appreciate when you do that too, Tori. Seriously.
Yeah, just letting you know. I'll be right back.
No problem. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it's same with me. I'm sorry, I should do that, and Turing's right to say that. But GSU, the conversation we were having, you said that actually that percentage, and I'll give the percentage again.
Oh, they're back to talking about hate crimes. My gosh, that last one was something else. That one hurt. Oh my goodness. Ooh. I don't feel like a king anymore. Oh my gosh. I actually have a migraine. Wow. I've never gotten a migraine during a debate before, and I've debated a lot of people. Wow. Oh, that says every man a king, if you want to know what that says. Every man a king. It's Huey Long's old saying. That's a poster of Huey Long. Oh, and somebody asked me earlier, what genocide did Chomsky deny? He was very, very wishy-washy on the Cambodian slaughter. Basically, it was like, hey, when we get these stories of the Khmer Rouge doing all this bad, I mean, we should really, really treat these stories with care. We should really treat them with caution. It was like some pretty... But here's the direct quote. Refugees are frightened and defenseless, at the mercy of alien forces. They naturally tend to report what they believe their interlocutors wish to hear. Which isn't exactly a great word. I think eventually he went back on it, though. But all I'm saying is Chomsky doesn't have a perfect record. And even if he did, him agreeing with anybody or disagreeing with me or some other thing doesn't mean anything. And let's say this one chemical attack, I end up being wrong, and it was actually all a big ploy, and the White Helmets organized it, or whatever the theory says. There's still all the other chemical gas attacks. The fact that there is a there's a preliminary report that said basically inconclusive, when we have many, many other gas attacks we can point to. I find it ridiculous to try to suggest that Assad hasn't gassed his own people. Revelant Millennial, thanks for the tier 1. And why are we even talking about Syrian gas? It's like every single time Rob got an opportunity, he brought up Syria. And apparently he had that, what it was, is he had this thing about the OPCW report in his pocket, And he's like, I'm going to get Dylan on Syria now. And he just brought it up as many times as possible until I defended my position. And when I did, he brought it out, and he didn't expect me to know, I guess, about the OPCW report. How many of the chemical gas attacks did Assad make that we know of other than the disputed one? 1 second. Let me check if they're back to live.
It's going to be
No, they're not. But if... 1 second. If you just Google Syrian gas attack, there's a Ghouta gas attack. There's a Khan chemical attack. There's a lot more. There's of course the Doma gas attack, which is the one that people like dispute all the time. It's Duma actually. There's multiple gas attacks, and a lot more than the ones I'm talking about right now. There was a lot of gas attacks. So the fact that they have one that they dispute doesn't really mean anything to me. I'm sorry, man. It's just... Oh... You know, the thing is, they're calling me a warmonger when he was able to overlook what was going on in Yemen. And I mean, like, he can say, like, well, I didn't support it. Well, you were able to overlook it to still vote for Trump. I keep thinking about Yemen. What can we do to pressure the White House? I guess just call your representatives is one thing you can do. Donate to organizations that are trying to give support to Yemenis on the ground. By about June of this year, 60% of Yemenis are going to be acutely food insecure, so they're going to need that support more than ever. But yeah, letting your representatives know that you really care about this is I guess the best thing you can do from a governmental point of view. Calling you Dick Cheney is fucking brain dead. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he knows like how neocons view me. Like, Kevin Castley, like, probably thinks I'm, like, the most lib-cucky dove in the world, right? There's a lot of neocons really think I'm like, the epitome of, like, of everything wrong with the modern American foreign policy, right? Over-emotional, irrational allies of Iran or Russia or whatever, right? And you want to know what? A lot of them really hate me because I get more views than them, and I get more attention than them. And for whatever reason, the neocon beliefs don't get that much attention anymore. So, and I don't want to like mean to pull that as a card, but that's something I can tell. There's resentment about the fact that like other ways of thought outside of neocon or aggressive war hawk rhetoric is getting attention in the United States. You know? They should be happy I'm not Tulsi Gabbard. You know how easy it would be for a Tulsi Gabbard type figure to come out here and tell you how Assad didn't gas his own people ever, and how he's actually like the best defense against terrorism, and how like the military junta. Well, look, the National Endowments for Democracy once tweeted out in support of it. So be cautious of CIA support, or the Hong Kongers are all just CIA shills, and we need to back China out, and America's just trying to sow discord, and what's going on in Xinjiang is a whole fraud. They're treating the Muslims wonderful, and the Uyghurs are having a great time. Like, how easy it would be for somebody to come on and do that? It would be super easy, a lot easier than you think. Because you want to know what? There's not a lot of people on the platform who are going to be able to counter it. And I'm not even the best person to counter it. I'm going to be honest. I know more than the average person about foreign policy, and I do my best. But, man, there's a lot of times I don't know what to say, because I don't know everything. Okay, are we back live? Great. Wonderful.
Professionalism. I try and pride myself on professionalism, even though I'm like the furthest thing from
Not good for you, John.
When I'm this drunk. All right. All right, panelists, this is the last topic of debate. The last topic of debate tonight, and somebody is walking away with 2 tankards, or 2 winners are going to win 2 tankards. Subscribe to the Drunken Debates page, and then if you enter the actual giveaway at the link provided that I've been posting, you're going to be entered to win a Shell Shock product, Shell Shock CBD product. By the way, for those who don't know what Delta 8 is, we are launching it here probably in 2 weeks. Delta 8, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a game changer. I have tested these products myself. Say, for example, you like to smoke weed, or you like the feelings of being high, yada, yada, yada. Well, now you can ingest a gummy and get the same effects without the paranoia. It's wonderful. Veterans with PTSD, this is going to change your fucking life. You're going to love it. So, Delta 8 gummies releasing soon. If you want Delta 8, enter to win. All right, panelists, last topic of debate. We are going till 10 o'clock, so we roughly have 25 minutes. Let's get into it. GOP Representative Cateco on U.S. sending COVID vaccines to Mexico, Canada. We need to take care of our people first. Friday on Fox Business Network's Varney and Company, Representative John Cateco, Republican out of New York, reacted to the report that the White House plans to send about 4 million doses of AstraZeneca's coronavirus vaccine to Mexico and Canada. Catco called that decision ill-advised, considering there's a surge of immigrants being released in the United States without being tested for coronavirus, while many Border Patrol agents and Americans are yet to receive the vaccine. He acknowledged the importance of humanitarianism, but emphasized that the need to take care of our people first. There was 1,000 unaccompanied children and some parents with them at one border facility. Not a single one had been tested. They're being released into our community, Catco said. It's naturally going to spread COVID. It's just going to happen. And half the Border Patrol agents or more have not been vaccinated. Our schools are still closed. Our businesses still have huge restrictions. Yet we're going to take those precious vaccines and send them to other countries while we're trying to get our economy on top. Panelists, that is the topic of debate. We're going to go around the horn with 1 minute. Where do you stand on essentially the Biden administration saying that we're sending 4 million different COVID vaccines to Canada and Mexico? We're going to start with Rob Noor on this one. Rob, you've got 1 minute. Go ahead, sir.
It's America last, right? We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This is exactly what it is. Like, for example, if you're an illegal immigrant, you have more rights to go do what you want unfettered than if you're someone who is deemed non-essential and you can't go to work. If you want to go visit your mom in a nursing home, if you want to have a wedding for your daughter, if you want to go to your non-essential job, tough shit. We'll send you $1,400 after we promise you $2,000. Oh, by the way, this stimulus will be like the previous two that massively benefit the wealthiest in America and will be a drain from working class and poor people to and increase wealth disparity to the wealthiest. But we'll continue. Like, I have evidence right here. I just initially Googling it when I heard the question, like people in Michigan furious that they don't have access to the vaccine. I know there are people in my state of Pennsylvania that are furious they still don't have access to the vaccine. It's just like the last topic. It seems like this administration and the Democratic Party and the establishment in whole, even establishment Republicans, give a shit more about people in other countries than the American people. It's not an accident. They're doing this because they don't give a shit about the average American voter. They view us with contempt, and that's what this entire COVID lockdown bullshit has been. While they lock us down, but they tell illegals, hey, you could go into the community. We don't give a shit if you spread or not. Meanwhile, John Kerry's still not wearing a mask on that airplane, right?
BX Bullet, over to you. 1 minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, we talked about this last time, and I agree, especially with the crisis at the border and the influx of immigrants, and being in Texas. This has been a concern for us. So I'm all for getting that the vaccine to Americans first. I agree with what Rob said, and if there's stuff left over, then great. Then we can start to be generous after we've taken care of America. But I do still feel the same way as I did a couple weeks ago when we were talking about giving it to China and places like that. I definitely feel like there should be more vaccines coming out. I agree. Like, I know this is it is similar. It's adjacent in topic, but I like what Dylan said about undoing the patent rights. I really do think that in a global health crisis, that private pharmaceutical companies should not be allowed to profit so greatly off of this vaccination. And I think that it should be shared public knowledge, and they should be facilitating their peers also making more of the virus. Of course, it's more complicated than that because it comes down to supplies and ingredients and stuff like that as well. But definitely feel like we need to take care of America first, while at the same time finding more ways to get more vaccines made and spread around.
GSU, down to you, sir.
So yeah, exporting this dangerous vaccine to other places is good. No, I'm playing. No, but man, I kind of want to fight y'all on the IP thing, but yeah, so I think given the vaccine, I think having places in America that don't have access, I'm always going to be America first. That's the only way Black people are going to be helped, if America's first. So I'm always going to be for like trying to dish this out to Americans. If there are sections of America that seem to be, I don't know the data on this, but I'm just trusting y'all, seem to be disenfranchised and not able to get the vaccine. I think it's atrocious that we would not prioritize those people. I don't think that we have to treat the entire America before we start to be more altruistic and give it to other places, because a lot of those places do import, immigrate here and just visit here and stuff. So there's like, it seems like this is tailored to the people that we share a border with. So it's likely that there's back and forth a lot. So I can understand trying to do something with those countries. But yeah, on the IP thing though, I think if we disincentivize companies from attempting to make a vaccine, we may not have a vaccine right now at all. So I feel indifferent. I understand the the thoughts that y'all are having behind it, but I think it could lead to like disincentivation to create a vaccine. So, yeah.
Captain America, 1 minute. Go ahead, sir.
All right. So in this exact situation, I'm going to go ahead and yield to admit that I don't know enough about the situation to have a valid opinion on it, but I will say this. If we have the ability to manufacture 100,000 vaccines and we can only administer 20,000 before 80,000 of them go inert because we can't keep them at the proper temperature or have professionals actually administering them in time before the actual vaccine itself no longer works because of whatever half-life it has, like, then if we can produce 100,000, by all means, make that 100,000. It's not going to be bad for our economy to distribute those out to other nations. As far as prioritization goes, I think that everybody can be on the same page. Medical professionals obviously are our frontline workers against this virus. They need to be vaccinated first. Next, I would say our executive authorities, everything from local policing units that are, coming in contact with everyday infected, and our border patrol agents obviously need to be at the forefront of, who we're vaccinating. But outside of that, yeah, it feels great to say America first, but America first also means not just in prioritization, but also first in the breach, first setting that example of what right looks like. I feel like we sometimes miss that. People that lean conservative forget that America first is more than just feel good food for the week. Like, oh, we're first. Yeah, our people come first. No, we also need to show to some degree some humanity that we want the rest of the world to be. We want to be at the forefront of that conflict and on the right side of history.
All right, so real quick, for those streamers that are currently attending on the panel, we're currently conducting a poll, and the poll is to say who did the best in tonight's debate. The winner of said poll will actually get rated by the stream. I'll send the viewers all over to them. So panelists, have your people come vote on that poll to represent you. To those, please have a non-biased opinion. Who do you felt like did the best, who was more respectful, who had really good points, hard-hitting points, whether you agree with it or not? The poll is currently posted on my Twitch page on the Drunken Debates. Have your people go give a vote real quick. And that's going to be up for the next 10 minutes. So make sure to go vote at the end of the stream. If you get the most poll votes, I'm going to send the raid over to you. I think that's only fair. So please go vote right now. All right. We're going to go up to Brad. Brad, you've got 1 minute. Where do you stand on this, sir? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. If you vote for me, you get to talk about the community gardening project that I'm going to be working on in Cleveland. We're going to be dealing with a lot of different plants and so forth, and really being in a sustainable area. As far as the actual topic that we're discussing goes, I like democratizing the IP. I like sharing what research has been done. I like being able to give the vaccine production method out to as many different countries. And
I know how much it would piss them off for me to win. So if you guys could just go in there and vote real quick. Honestly, the fact how much it would piss off so many people is the only reason why I want it. I'm going to end stream immediately. I don't even want the raid. I just want to piss people off.
Better goodwill with them and to try to help them along their way when we were able to monopolize the power of the petrodollar or of the United States dollar and invest into our vaccine production and research the way that we were. So I think overall it is a net benefit to share the not large amount of vaccine. 4 million isn't the biggest of amounts, but I think it's a good step in the right direction.
Dylan, over to you, sir. 1 minute.
Okay, so I just want to be clear. We didn't give the vaccines to Mexico or Canada. We loaned them to these countries, mostly because the only reason we're doing this is because they have gotten authorization to use this strain of I'm not a medical professional, but they haven't gotten authorization yet, emergency authorization to actually use the strain of the medical thing. I don't know the exact word for it. They haven't got authorization to basically use these yet, emergency authorization. And so since that hasn't happened yet, we've decided that we're going to loan them some of these for their stockpile. And since we've already have contracts for hundreds upon hundreds of millions more doses than we currently have in the United States, we thought we'll loan these to them now and we'll reap the benefits later. And we also consider that the other large world powers like Russia and China are literally giving vaccines away. It's not something that angers me. And definitely when we just had a whole conversation about how we want people who are coming into this country to be vaccinated, and Mexico only has 0.5% vaccination rate. I think loaning them some stuff for right now isn't this big thing of putting America last. In fact, I think doing the goal of diplomacy has never been to help other countries. States, if you take a realist point of view, are self-interested. Diplomacy a lot of times is to get your own interest, and I think having good relations with these nations help the United States.
All right, so real quick, before I give my 2 cents, I have to address some comments in the chat room. I said streamer, your favorite streamer. It's literally in the fucking poll. The reason I couldn't put Captain in there, Captain's not a streamer. I would love to have Captain Cook, but he's not a streamer. Therefore, I can't raid his channel. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. I apologize for that, panelists. Captain, I would love to add you, but this is your favorite streamer. I can't very well send a raid into the ether and say, congratulations, Captain, you won. But you got a lot of people out there rooting for you, by the way, Captain. Like, Jesus Christ, people are so fucking stupid sometimes. Like, I can't even. On a scale of 1 to even, I fucking can't even. Even to my own people. It's like, oh my God. Oh my God. Read what I even put parentheses. I said, streamer. Streamer. Christ almighty.
You guys are digging it, I'll start streaming.
Hey, you should. You should, Captain. You definitely should. And that way, if you win, I can raid you. There you go. All right, so I'm gonna give my own 2 cents here. Okay, look, America first. I understand Dylan's got a point there that these are on loan, but again, it's the oxygen mask in the airplane type of scenario here. Until we get every single American vaccinated that wants the vaccination, free to choose, we should be worrying about America first. Now, I understand people saying that, hey, we got to worry about Mexico. They have smaller things. You have to worry about Canada. They have smaller manufacturing capabilities. But also, I like the idea of pushing this to the privatized industry. But look at World War II and how many of these contracts were awarded out to Ford, different things that turned and switched. Like you look at like clothing manufacturing companies during COVID, such as 9line, that suddenly started manufacturing masks and started getting these contracts and stuff. It was actually beautiful to see that private enterprise, capitalism came in and pulled.
Boys, we're in the lead. Keep the lead, though. They're catching up to us. If we could win this, it'll be the funniest shit ever, okay? Let's do it.
When it's unregulated. Unregulated. I know, Brad. I know you're ready to jump all over this. But in regards to where I stand on the COVID vaccines going outsourced, no. America comes first. They should not be outsourced to Canada and Mexico. Americans need that. Give to Americans. And again, other points the panelists made. If we have spillover that's not being used, send it out there. Give it to them. Yes, I'm a philanthropist, 100%. America comes first. Open to debates, Brad.
I have a real quick clarification to make because I was really familiar with the topic. I thought, I was assuming it was kind of the same thing we were talking about a couple weeks ago, but looking at, just quickly researching it's saying that the U.S. doesn't need the AstraZeneca shots and that Biden has clarified that if we have spillover and if we don't need those shots, which haven't been approved for use yet in the U.S., then we will give them to Mexico and Canada. So if that's the case, then
saying, that's the reason why you said it much more eloquently than me. You're very smart. I'm not.
Yeah. So
according to what the article saying is they plan to send this.
Because it's not approved. It doesn't have approval. If it doesn't have approval to be used in the United States, then we can't use it. It's just sitting there. And,
no, it's gonna be approved by April
eventually,
for both. But they're not gonna send it until it's approved. We're not just gonna send them unapproved drug and be like, sorry, it's not good enough for us. Here you go.
Well, if we send them on regular vaccine, that's just as.
No. We can talk about that if you want to, because I do have quite a bit of knowledge in this area.
I think the idea of the vaccination, like there's this trend on social media. Maybe some of you have seen it that have private Facebook accounts, but apparently the new trend is posting your COVID vaccine card. It's the new fucking altruistic virtue signaling. It's like, I got vaccinated. There's a whole little spiel on Facebook now where you have these influencers and famous people are showing where they got the vaccination. It's become very I shouldn't say upsetting, but annoying to where now people are starting to be, I don't want to say brainwashed, but now they're associating patriotism with getting your vaccination. Look,
I posted mine. I think the
douche. You douche.
Bill Gates gave me a microchip. I had to give that boy a shout out. All right.
You suddenly want to buy Microsoft? Is that what you're saying? You suddenly want to buy some Microsoft?
To be fair, John, right? I remember a while ago, I just got my normal vaccine for the flu last year, and I posted a picture of it. And the reason I did was because there's a lot of people now who believe vaccinations are like a way to make your kids gay or something, or believe this nonsense online. And you know what? That's probably why I like men. But besides the fact, besides that fact, it's something I think we should normalize, like the idea of getting your vaccine, like being like, hey, it's a normal thing. I mean, is it virtue signaling? Duh, but everyone's virtue signaling anyway. So if it does a good thing, it does a good thing. Makes people want to take the vaccine.
While I agree with you, like what you're saying is that people are very misguided and uneducated about it, and I agree with that. But as far as normalizing it, there's always going to be some people who don't want to get the flu shot. I don't get the flu shot, the basis of this is consent. It's consent. So whether you're virtue signaling me and telling me, oh, you're an idiot if you don't, and we're going to cancel you. I'm not saying that you're saying that, but like if it heads that way down that slippery slope of like you're shunning people who weren't vaccinated, you know, and coming into a point where it's essentially mandatory because you can't live your normal life without getting vaccinated, then we've completely overruled consent, which is a huge issue and concern for me. Although I'm not anti-vax at all.
So, and it's also
I want to say the people that look at this and say if you won't take the coronavirus vaccine, you're an anti-vaxxer, you're a complete asshat.
I get that all the time on my channel.
Yeah,
all
the
the
science behind mRNA vaccines and proteomic vaccines is not congruent in any way. So if you're a person that feels like, hey, somebody not getting the vaccine is an anti-vaxxer, I just want to let you know you're literally of the stupidest people are.
Although I really feel like mRNA vaccines are actually really, really promising technology that have been around for decades.
Exactly.
But and I would like to clarify that these vaccines also did go through all phases of the FDA trial. It's not that they got short-tracked and they just skipped a lot of shit. They don't do that. What happened is that the government funded it. They bankrolled it, which is because normally when you have a vaccine coming, hold on. I haven't talked that much, guys. Okay. So normally when you have a vaccine coming out, hey kitty, or any kind of drug coming out, you have to go through multiple rounds of funding with shareholders. So after phase 1, you have to get the shareholders together and get them all to agree. And some of them drop out and you have to find more shareholders and more funding. And that's something that takes a long time. The government and the private industries bankrolled it from the get. So they didn't have to worry about that. And then in addition, they combined all their efforts onto the vaccine and kind of pushed other things to the side. So the FDA was focused on this. So in all honesty, it's a testament to how quickly we can get things done. It was actually a really, really good effort on their point, but it did go through all of the testing. So don't say that it's like, you know.
No, I love you. I love you to death. Right. I just want to say that that's a bit of misinformation. So everything you said is factually true about the funding being expedited is what allowed some of this to happen. This is the problem. And it's a problem in that people don't understand how some vaccines get tested. What they do is they give large doses of vaccines to small animals, and throughout the animal's life cycle, because it's smaller, they look at the effects that it has later in the animal's life, and they portray that that's going to be what happens later in human lives.
That's for all drugs, not just vaccines. So if you ever take a drug that just came out or is like a couple years old, then you're taking the same risk.
No.
So this is unique.
Boys, we won with 46% of the vote. The mail-in votes came in.
Usually stifled, and not just the funding. Some processes usually stifled. You do get a better incubation period of this thing being in humans before it's generally available, and it's due to the process. I'm not saying that the FDA process is perfect. I'm saying that due to the slowness of the FDA process, there's more of an incubation in humans before it's generally released. It's not solely dependent upon rats and these things. There's also a problem with rats. I don't want to go into it here, but if you've heard of Brett Weinstein, there's a problem with rats and things like that.
But if you're talking about but the animal study. So what I'm saying is that this went through all phases of clinical trials, and I do believe that it is a safe vaccine. I don't think that there's any reason for people to be afraid. And the mRNA technology has actually been around for a really long time, decades.
Getting back to the most important part of this conversation, how can we come together to abolish IP and or so greatly weaken a company's ability to change their manufacturing or delivery mechanism of insulin so they can copyright and patent for 100 years? How can we come to a common agreement where we can minimize the power?
It's only 7 years, right?
I'm sorry, that's 20 years to my knowledge.
This is a point where I probably kind of migrate away from any kind of libertarian stance on the control over the pharmaceutical companies, because I think that this should be a specific issue that we look at being a global pandemic. So we're not looking at, this is like a worldwide situation. It's a crisis, right? This isn't just like people with diabetes that have options already. This is something that I believe should be shared in a different way. It's not a public health emergency. In a public health emergency, I don't believe that the pharmaceutical companies should be able to keep patents and keep proprietary information. I think that they should be sharing that. And I also think that their bumper profits should be restricted. And before you say it's disincentivizing to the companies, it's really, but it is and it isn't. It isn't because they want the optics. They want to look good. And so most of them are shunning away from bumper profits anyways, because they don't want to look like they're making billions and billions of dollars off of the vaccine.
John, I
interject
wanted to
anytime,
ask you a
Rob.
question, John.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hold on.
So, John, I
We'll
wanted
do-
to ask you a question and a follow-up. So, do you believe it should be mandatory for people to get the COVID vaccine? That's the first question.
No.
Okay, so if you don't think it should be mandatory, then don't you think that even if you think it's douchey, the idea of people using the internet to encourage other people to get vaccinated with like, oh, look, I got my vaccine, get vaccinated. If we don't if it's not going to be government mandated, then if people taking their own time to go out on Twitter or wherever, be like, hey, you should go get vaccinated. It's a good thing to do. It's a responsible thing to do. Keep your family safe. Keep the people safe. What is there really a problem with that?
No,
Yeah,
I don't know. I think you're
know.
misunderstanding me. No, if that's what you want to do, by all means, do it. You're freedom to choose.
Okay, but I wanted to say follow up. I would like to thank all the mail-in votes and Dominion voting for the assistance in the election. 100% great. I love it. Finally,
Dylan, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to
I'm
change this because I think Dylan has way more viewers on his own personal channel.
No, I convinced the
actually came in and
conservatives. I
fair,
convinced the
that's fair.
conservatives.
That's a fair
Conservatives
vote.
have
It's fair. No,
finally
it's fair.
thrown their
Yes,
whiteness
I'm-
out and have joined the liberal cause, and I'm so happy to see it.
I
I'm
wouldn't
so
go that
happy.
far. I
These
wouldn't go
flyover
that
state
far.
people have been
Start
enlightened
streaming
by my
before this.
elegance.
No, Dylan won fair and square. We're gonna have to figure out a different way though, because essentially, how do you make this fair and balanced though?
The
I'm not
way that you would
boxing.
have to, John, is you'd have to
Wait,
find,
you gotta
you'd have to
start
find a
electoral
committee,
college now.
or you'd have to get people to vote for it. Like,
Maybe the panelists would just have to like have an unbiased opinion. Maybe the panelists themselves could vote to who they felt was.
And
the
I
best,
would win every week if people were unbiased. So that's not.
You were tied, like you were neck and neck with Dylan, like you were there. But no, to go
We
back
know-
to
we know
Dylan's
the
question, look, I think we're talking about apples and oranges here. Like, look, here's the thing. Like, I am of the belief of freedom to choose. It's your body, your choice. Liberals, I know you're gonna love me for that. Republicans are gonna hate me for that. But I believe it's your body, your choice. It should not be forced. It should be freedom to choose. If you choose to go on the internet and post your card, do what you want to do. Maybe I phrased it wrong.
So-
It almost comes off though as it's all like,
Can I test
if
that?
you're trying to convince people, feel free.
Well,
to do
John,
it.
it's
I'm
your
not
right
saying
to call
you
it
need to.
cringe.
Let me ask you a
so-
question then.
Yeah.
John, it's
I would
also
like to
probably
you're a
for some-
libertarian. If you're a libertarian,
Oh, yeah, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
then if
Okay, yeah.
business-
So I'll interject because to a fundamental truth.
Dylan, we can't
I
hear
don't
you.
Disagree.
Oh,
This
you
is a
can't hear
good
me?
conversation.
Oh.
You can't hear me? No, this is
No, I
a
said
good
Dylan is
conversation.
really
Don't get me
low.
wrong.
I'm
But the
really
fundamental
low.
truth of what we're talking about has been misrepresented, whether it be intentionally or
two?
unintentionally. So I'm looking from an NPR article, and it says, quote, and this is from March 19th. It says, quote, in terms of domestic policies, there aren't doses that are currently be going to American arms, which CNC underscores. This loan will not reduce the available supply of vaccines to Americans. The doses we are loaning are not approved for use in the United States. So when Dylan says these are loans, and when BX correctly says, well, wait a minute, this won't be detrimental to the United States, the amount of people could be the vaccine. Let's talk about why. Well, because the United States has not approved the AstraZeneca vaccine for the people of the United States. So there's two possibilities here. One, the United States government believes this vaccine hasn't proven that it's effective or thinks that it could still be dangerous. And so we're just shoveling shit off to Mexico. That doesn't sound good. Or second, we know that this would somehow be effective and we're prioritizing people in Mexico over people in the United States. Either way, the story's not as if Dylan wanted to make it seem. The truth of the matter is this: we're either shoveling something that we think's garbage off to Mexico, or we are intentionally, in this same article from the NPR, it claims, and I have no reason to doubt this, that the amount of people vaccinated in the United States has been 12% of its population. So until we have every single person in the United States that wants a vaccine, we should not be sending these vaccines to other countries. If the argument is AstraZeneca's vaccine shit, then we shouldn't be sending, if we haven't approved it scientifically for the United States, we should not be sending it off to other countries because God forbid it ends up killing people.
Wait,
if it is
wait.
something
Quick
That's not what I'm
for
reading.
Wait. Panelists, hold on. He took a shot at Dylan. We'll go to Dylan, then to Brad.
topic, right? If it is something that we think could be effective, then there's no reason to give it to a different country before our people.
This
Okay,
is going to
so
give context.
Over to Dylan, then to Brad. Dylan, then Brad.
Dylan, this will help
Torian, you can go
out. I'm not
first if
gonna-
you want. And
Yeah,
then
I'm not going to steal it from you. Does anybody know if Mexico or Canada approved the AstraZeneca vaccine? That was my only question. Back to you, Dylan.
Okay, so the thing
Yeah.
is, this isn't something where we're like, we know this is garbage. If it looks like we're going to approve it eventually, it just currently isn't approved. So we're not shoveling garbage to Mexico. And the fact of the matter is, we have hundreds of millions of contracts for vaccine doses, much more than what we have, much more than we're actually going to need for distributing to the American people. And so with that, and you know what? Look, Rob, I'll try to reach over across the aisle here. I don't know if it's going to be taken or not, but look, what was it? It was the thing Trump did. It was like warp speed or whatever. Warp speed seems to have succeeded. Congratulations to Trump. I just wish he showed the same diligence in some other aspects of COVID defense. And it seems that we have a lot of contracts for a lot of vaccines, and as all the other world powers are actually giving vaccines, we're not even giving it. We're loaning it, and it's a thing we haven't approved yet. It's not because it's shit, because it looks like it's just in the process of getting approved.
No.
I'm
reading it now because I was wrong too, because I read it wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, so it says reports of blood disorders have prompted more than a dozen nations to suspend use of the AstraZeneca vaccine.
I also have from Reuters that the United States government is expected to respond by Friday to Mexico's request to share doses of stockpiled AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines. A senior Mexican official said Tuesday, as Canadian authorities also seek extra doses from their southern neighbor. So these are things that are being requested by both Mexico and Canada.
So we're not shoveling, they're just asking for it and we're giving it to them.
Mexico has labs that are building.
Well, not even giving, we're loaning it.
20, 30, 40 years.
What the hell does that mean, Dylan? Like, here's the problem. Like, it sounds like, oh, we're loaning it. We'll give them this vaccine, and then 5 years from now, they'll give it back to us. It was just a loan. The idea is this. There's people right now that are trying to get this vaccine. For example, the CDC has capitulated to political pressure because the Biden administration is so weak and they're anti-science, so they've caved to political pressure from the teachers' unions. Now, almost all science in the entire world shows that actual schools and kids being in schools, they're less likely to get COVID, and there's not that much transmission when it comes to teachers and things like that, but they totally fucking caved to the teachers unions because their agenda to get more money and better vacations and shit like that's more important than the health and the education of our children. So in part of that, one of the reasons they're saying is we haven't got the vaccine. We haven't got it yet. We all need the vaccine before we come to work. So at that time, when we're talking about that, instead of the Biden administration prioritizing making sure that the AstraZeneca vaccine is safe and getting their scientists on it and saying, no, we want a decision right now, God damn it, so we could get these out to teachers so that our kids could stop suffering and go back to school. We're sending
you can't just pressure them to advance studies that take a long time.
Are you willing to skip? Are you willing to skip phases of FDA approval?
Yeah, it's like, oh, hey guys, hold on, we got some problems with this vaccine. You better get that shit out right this second, okay? Like, is that what really the route that you want to take?
Question. So, great question. So, no, I'm not necessarily willing to skip phases of the vaccine approval, but the question is this: our FDA, right? Do you think that our FDA, just because they didn't approve something, like, for example, let's say that our FDA thought that a medication that came out in the United States that was approved for a patent here was incredibly dangerous. Would you be comfortable with them saying, "Yeah, shovel that shit to Africa"?
It takes many years longer to get a drug approved in the United States. No. You asked the question. I'm going to respond to it.
Well,
it takes many years longer to get a vaccine approved in the United States than it would in Canada, or it takes many years longer to get a drug approved in the United States than it does in Canada. Our FDA is actually one of the more strict drug regulatory agencies out there. So it's very possible that there could be other nations that are going to approve something faster, which happens many times across our northern border in Canada.
Okay, they're also really fucking inefficient, and they're immune from a lot of federal regulation.
Why is it that the FDA is more strict than other places?
So it's not that they're more strict in other places. It's that they're very inefficient here, and they cave to the drug companies who put roadblocks in front of other companies to get drugs out. It's a lot of politics.
So the FDA here is saying we don't trust this drug for those Mexicans.
Rob, when you yell, it peaks and we can't hear you.
Yeah,
I can hear everything. No, I think it's fine. You're fine.
You're saying that the FDA is saying we don't trust this drug for our people, but we trust it for those Mexicans.
No, the FDA is saying they haven't gone through the complete process yet. But if the Mexican government is going to be asking us for the AstraZeneca vaccine, and we have it produced, and to what Captain America said, if we can't store it for a long enough period of time, then rather than letting the vaccine sit there, expire, and be absolutely
you're ignoring the fact that they're saying that they suspended use of it. No, they suspended use of it because of health concerns.
In Germany and France, they did. In the United Kingdom, they're still using it.
Fuck those Mexicans. Leave them get blood clots.
Wait, Rob Noor, they asked for it. What are we? Do you think the Mexican government's stupid? Do you think all the Mexican people they don't know what they're doing?
Hands up, panelists, hands up. We're gonna go to Captain America and then back up to Dylan and over to Rob. Captain America, go ahead.
All right. At the end of the day, if those people through their government that they've elected or that represent them ask for a vaccine that we have possession of, then they have the right to have it. If we're not going to use it, if it's just going to sit somewhere in a cooler, they have elected officials. If they have a problem, then they can go to their government that allowed them to be inoculated with those exact vaccines. That being said, I want my conservative friends to realize it's not America bending over and taking it in the ass. That's us realizing, wow, we're not going to use this. And I need my friends on the left to realize that if this makes a fucking problem, we don't owe it to fucking 40,000 immigrants 20 years down the road because we had to.
You've given that argument. That's what you've done. You've given the argument.
So,
for that.
I need people to become radical centrists and hate both sides equally and realize that the answer's in the middle. We have a vaccine. We're not using it. They want to use it. They have elected officials that they elected that are asking for it.
Let me
The EU is saying that it's safe. The EU is saying that the benefits outweigh the risk. Honestly, if you're talking about going to compare the FDA to the EU is a much better regulatory agent than the FDA than the FDA. They're much more based in science and fact and less on red tape and regulatory bullshit than the FDA is.
Hold on, wait. I just want to clear this up. Okay, listen, like Dylan said earlier, there's a problem with people in Mexico having the vaccine. There's a billionaire in China by the name of Carlos Slim who has apparently paid a ton of money to try to get AstraZeneca so that they can vaccinate their most immunocompromised people, like older people. So
Carlos Slim is a Mexican telecom tycoon, not Chinese. Just keep going as you were.
It calls him a Mexico billionaire in the article that I put.
Yeah, you said China. Sorry. Oh,
I meant to say Mexico. Yeah. If I said China, I meant Mexico. Yeah. So this guy is apparently pushing a lot of money so that their country can also have the vaccine, and they trust this. There's been some complex distribution or something that they're trying to work through, but they're actively building facilities to produce the AstraZeneca vaccine, and that's what they want. And there's billionaires that are paying money so that they can get it to the older people in their country. So that's exactly what's happening here.
Okay.
Rob.
Is my mic? Wait. I never got to. I never was called on.
We'll go Dylan then Rob.
Okay. So So let me just be clear. I think Europe just announced they're going to start rolling this thing out again. So it's not garbage, okay? So Mexico wants it. Europe's going to roll it out. We just haven't gone through the proper processes. And again, Mexico is asking for it. It isn't like, hey, Mexico, are the scraps off of our table? It's they came here and was like, hey, we only have 0.5 vaccination. Could you lend this to us? And we were like, well, we currently can't use it because it's not approved. Okay, we'll lend it to you. And that's what's going on right now. Now, you could, Rob, if your argument is we need to speed up this approval process or something like that, maybe you have some grounding. But it seems like you think we're just dumping them all of our garbage or we're just throwing the American people under the bus. Here's another thing. Why is it when we engage with diplomacy in other nations, increase our relationship, help them out, knowing that this is building good relations which will help us down the line, why is it that diplomacy is America last? The reason we engage in diplomacy is because diplomacy helps American interests. The reason we did the Marshall Plan wasn't just because we liked German people or we liked French people or anything. It was because it would also help the American economy down the road by producing consumers.
Hold on, I got to ask you though. You're talking about diplomacy, and I understand where you're coming from in that, but what are we getting from Mexico exactly?
We're helping to rebuild the relationship that was heavily damaged by the Trump administration.
But what are we getting from them? You talk about import versus export. You talk about diplomacy. But that's also talking about taking on illegal immigration to such an 28%. So what are we exactly getting?
There's two things. A higher vaccination. Two things. Number one, we're not getting shafted because we're going to it's a loan. It's not like we're giving them just free stuff here. No, it's a loan.
I'm quoting you. Okay? You said that
we are helping them out through diplomacy, but we're also not getting shafted. We're not doing something that's going to hurt us.
What are we getting? Answer that question. What are we getting?
A better diplomatic relationship. More vaccinated. Let me say.
That is
more vaccinated Mexicans, which helps us out since they're on our border. Number 3, faster economic recovery for the Mexican state, and since they're part of NAFTA, they trade with us, and then being able to reopen their economy faster means we'll be able to do trade with them more. And I mean, this is some free trade. So I mean, I don't know if libertarians are now anti-free trade or something. I don't know what's going on.
Not at all. I was actually against the tariff war. I'm actually against it. But you talk about what we're getting from Mexico.
Yeah, a faster economic recovery in Mexico helps the United States.
100%, but the phrase, the argument of what you just posed. No, I'm talking about in regards to that. If we do I feel like maybe I heard this wrong, but to put it,
the economy reopen so that we can trade
by spending more money in that economy is what you're saying. Is that this is like a one-sided loan. It's like saying, hey, we're going to put more money in their economy so they can give us our money back, but we're not getting things.
we're not
I don't
getting
understand
We're
that.
gonna get it loaned back, and their economy reopens faster. Then our economy prospers because we can trade with them.
Talk about how
But
we
prior to their economy shutting down to COVID, what were we getting from Mexico? Is my question. It's an outsourcing job.
What do you? I don't even know what you're asking for anymore.
Everybody's yelling.
Okay, let's go. I'm sorry. Let's actually. We're gonna. Hey, panelists, we got to go into.
Actually manufactured in Mexico.
Yeah, I understand it because we're outsourcing a lot of that. This is fucking American.
Right? Try it out on them. It's not safe enough for white people. Try it out on those Mexicans.
No, that's not at all what's happening.
William just blew your point
wrong.
out of the water.
That's not at all what's happening.
We have to
The
go.
EU has already green-lighted it.
Panelists, we got to go into roundtable, or I'm sorry, we got to go into final outro. Stop. We got to go into 1 minute outros because we got to do this giveaway. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start with Dylan Burns. You've got 1 minute to outro on the topic. Do not reference another panelist because we're already at 10:09. We're overtime. So, Dylan, you got 1 minute, sir. Go ahead and make sure you tell people where they can find you.
You can find me at Dylan Burns TV. That's DYLANBURNS TV on Twitch and on YouTube. And you know what? I know a lot of you disagreed with what I had to say tonight. And I know a lot of you are like, oh, that libcuck, he doesn't know what he's talking about. That dumb kid. Oh, he doesn't know. He doesn't stand for America. He wants to backstab. I know exactly. It's going in your mind. Okay. You got home. You popped open a Budweiser to watch this and throw your beer can at some libcucks on TV. But you know what? You know what George's Gorge told Muhammad Ali? People will pay 10 times more to watch somebody they hate than to watch somebody they like, okay? So you know what? You're gonna tune in. I know you're gonna tune in. You think you're not, you're gonna. Anyway, Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If this show's not going on, my show definitely is. Now, my position on this is clear. I think we benefit from a faster reopening Mexican economy since they're part of NAFTA. We benefit from the trade benefits. We benefit to have more Mexican people vaccinated. This is not something that's even approved in the United States yet, but it's approved by Europe and Mexico, and they asked for it, and it's a loan. Seems pretty simple to me. Love the plan. Check me out. There you go.
Captain America, down to you, sir. You got 1 minute.
Hey everybody, so this is my first night ever doing anything even remotely like this. You can find me on Instagram at Captain America. My name's Ryan, longtime friend of John Burke, but I'm new to this whole possible streaming idea. I don't know if it's for me. We'll figure it out. If any of you guys think that I did a great job tonight, like I said, you can find me at Captain America. It's written under my page at least on Instagram. Let me know if I did a great job, what you think, or if you hated it. I accept hate mail as well. I really enjoyed tonight. I'm a centrist in the United States. That means I lean kind of conservative just because of the way that our political sphere is. But I love Dylan because people like Dylan, people like Brad, people like GSU Gambit, they remind me that I have a heart. I like people like Rob, because he reminds me I have a brain. And I think that the answer is always somewhere in the middle. I think it's always rooted in compromise. And I'm really, really grateful to be a part of tonight. And I look forward to, possibly being part of this shit in the future. So thank you guys very much for your feedback. I look forward to hearing more from all of you.
Brad, up to you, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, democratize the IP on the vaccine, solidarity with our northern and southern neighbors, and share it. And then for who I am. So, hi, everybody. I'm Brad of Touring News. Recently, I started giving my stream key away to other people that are either around my size or a little bit smaller of a stream than I am. That way they can come onto my platform and do like a deep dive on an educational topic that they might like to do. So we have people doing global news on Wednesday nights. We've got an energy panel on Thursday nights and so forth. I'll be going to Cleveland in a couple of days to do an urban market farming project. Hopefully I'll be, doing some volunteering with the Nina Turner.
I got so angry that I broke my crown. Terrible. Gonna have to fix that somehow.
You Captain _America or just Captain America?
Captain _America.
Very important for future branding opportunities to make sure that you get that one correct.
Yes, sir.
So, oh man, I didn't mean it that way. But yeah, thank you everything, John. And I appreciate it being here. I hope to be back sometime soon.
Absolutely, sir. GSU, over to you.
Cool. Yeah. I think I've made my position and everything clear. I'm GSU Gambit. I'm a software engineer. This month, all of my bits and donations have been going to some scholarships that I give every year back to my high school for people that are majoring in STEM. So if you want to help out, give bits, give a sub, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I'm a software engineer. I'm gonna start doing more software engineering content. I want to create like some kind of open source project, and I want to have people be able to follow me. I am GSU Gambit on Twitch. I might make a new name like GSU Gambit Codes or something, because it seems like that's what a lot of the software engineers on Twitch do. But follow me on GSU Gambit, and you'll be able to get updates for that. Blah blah blah. Appreciate the invite, John. Everybody, as always, love y'all. Nice to meet you, Captain. But yeah, this was cool. I was happy to be able to drink this time.
The next time, how about you show the fuck up on time? How about that?
I was 2 minutes.
Yeah. We said 6:45 rendezvous.
No, I was in the Discord. I just wasn't in
No,
the
the fuck you weren't. No, you were not here in Whereby. You weren't here.
No,
in Whereby.
I was in Discord. I wasn't in Whereby.
That's
It's
like
all-
50%. That's like 50%,
No,
but you weren't fully here.
A lot of people have moved away from Discord, from Whereby to Discord. So it's been a while since I've actually been on Whereby. The last
Wait,
time
as
I
far
was
as
on
streaming?
Yeah, because
They're
it's just
streaming from
issues
Discord.
that some people have been having. So I'm not used to joining Wherebys anymore. But no, it's fine. Yeah.
You literally click a link and you join. It's
Which
not
was
fucking rocking. You're a software engineer, GSU. Shut the
no.
fuck up with your bullshit.
I didn't
Shut
say
the
it
fuck
was
up with your
hard.
bullshit.
No, wait. No, I didn't say it was hard. I said I'm not
Oh
used
my
to doing
God.
it.
I'm sorry. I got to take these earphones off. They're full of bullshit right now. I get nothing but bullshit coming here through these earphones. Rob, over to you, sir.
Yeah, so you can find me on Rob Noor on Twitch or Normal America with Rob Noor on YouTube or on D Live. I just want to say it's not often I do this, but I fully concede the opinions that the other people on the panel have issued. I now understand that when us white people in a white predominant country have some sort of drug that we don't know if it's effective or not, as long as desperate people in other countries of other skin colors want to accept it, we should shovel off the shit on them that we don't say is approved for our own population. In fact, hell, let's go further than Mexico. If the black community that's been disproportionately affected by the virus are so desperate that they're
Oh my God.
I'm sorry,
Stay on
DX.
topic. Stay on
you know,
topic. Stay on topic.
Oh, sure. I'll stay on topic. If the black community in this country decides they're so desperate, we should also shovel shit that the FDA hasn't approved to them for drugs also to help them out. So I'm very convinced by the liberals and even the conservatives on this panel that are totally convinced that we should send unproven drugs to other countries just because they request it because they're so desperate. Thank you all so much. Thank you for really approving the fact that brown people should be the guinea pigs of all of the drugs that we take.
Why are you
Over to
caring?
you, BX. BX, over to you.
Man. So on this topic, after when you first brought up the topic, I don't think I really had a great understanding, but I did read an article that convinced me that this has been declared safe and is being used in the EU, and so it is not just an unsafe experimental drug that we're just shoveling over to the less fortunate. So I think that if that's the case, and if we're not using it, if we don't even need it, then there's no reason not to give it to other countries that are requesting it. I'm BX Bullet TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. I just have a new YouTube channel up where I'm talking about stuff that I do. I'm also a private investigator. So I do a lot of stuff to help creators keep themselves safe online. And I've been doing a series of videos about like how to keep yourself safe online and things of that nature. So please go check it out. YouTube, BX Bullet TV, Twitch, BX Bullet TV. I stream every night at 8:30 p.m. Not tonight, but we'll be going live tomorrow night as usual. And thanks for having me. I always have a good time on these things. So.
Absolutely. Panelists, thank you for being here. We will be back next Friday at 7 p.m. CST. Don't go anywhere. We're doing the giveaways right after this. So big thank you to the panelists, BX, Rob Noor, GSU, Brad, Captain America, Dylan Burns. Big thank y'all for spending your Friday nights right here. And to all the viewers tuning in, panelists, I'm going to step out. I will talk to y'all later. Thank you for spending your evening here and dedicating your time to me here. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, I'm willing to
Still
I'm
live.
willing to
Rob
talk,
is the funniest
but
guy.
I gotta go to the restroom. White people like to use the restroom. We don't like to use
God.
guinea pigs.
Oh my gosh, man! I forgot Europe was like.
You're
I didn't know
fucking being a
Europe was white or
troll,
something,
dude.
man.
All right. Well, hey, I did appreciate spending the evening with all of you. You know, I'm not really much of a debater or a person that goes on big panels or so forth, but this was a nice use of time. I appreciated it.
See you later, man.
Bye, Brad.
Hey, great to
Thanks
hear
for
from you.
coming on, dude.
Knowledgeable on all these topics. It's been really good to hear from you, bud.
Have a good night, all.
So Dylan,
Oh,
Dylan,
I'm still here. What do you want?
So you switch Hippy Dippy to every other week?
I is just since I'm doing bigger events now, like I'm gonna do the Hippy Dippy Royal Rumble, which is gonna be 14 people, and I'm doing like big championship matches.
What
with
is that?
like When is that? It's hopefully gonna be next Friday, but I think I'm gonna have to push it back to the 2nd or something, because it's taking more time than I thought it would to organize it. And yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll be available. Yeah, I got you.
All right, guys, I got a
love
class
the sly
tomorrow,
kind of
but
look.
it was fun as usual. I didn't get as drunk tonight because I'm not feeling very good. I've got like a cold or something. So
You said
um
Corona?
Okay, guys, that was something else. Holy moly, man, that made me a little perturbed, a tiny bit perturbed.